Hello, everybody. Are we live? Hello? Let me check. Let me check. Hey, I can hear myself. And I even heard the let me check part. That's pretty funny. Hello, everybody. Let us do some announcement. We have been having great conversation. Why did I do backslashes? In the Discord. We've been having a lot of fun this morning. And I'm excited to get going. I am on the cocaine. I'm on the caffeine. I'm drinking a Red Bull, so whoa, you never know what's gonna happen. And watch out, whoa. You can't see me, but I'm doing karate moves. I'll do like the, Anyway, let's make our announcement. Officially go live. It's what I'm learning. I'm learning especially how to deal with bad tools. Oh god, he's writing Lua. I've only written a tiny amount of Lua, so it probably shouldn't judge, but writing an OS in it sounds like torture. It would be. Writing an OS in Lua, it sounds incredibly painful. But there are positives. It's completely multi-platform. You can measure and call C code and so on. Lmao. Alrighty. Let's get going. Ooh, first, there's something to mention. Because we've had, I got a little bell rung for me. If I click on this, you can see LensorOS got a pull request from someone who was not me, which is the first time this has ever happened, which is why I'm impressed. And you can see that one of our viewers, Landar, added copyright headers to most files manually, mind you, based on this commit message. Isn't that insane? I don't even know how he found the commit message, or they, I should say. This is incredible. If we take a look at the files changed, there's a lot of them. There is a whole bunch of them. Be great if we could, GitHub has that new file viewer for pull requests, which is decidedly much better. This looks amazing. So it looks like all of the kernel source has been now legally is part of LensorOS. Before they were kind of just files that were there, but now we have it. We got it going. First time chat from a new viewer, FNalty or Finalty. What is a compiler? Ooh boy. So I'm gonna do my best to describe that. I'm just gonna dive straight into it, okay? So we have a program, right? And this program is written in some language, right? Whoops. Here, let me load this file really quick. So it's written in some language. This is a language I've made up. So there's no program that can actually understand this language other than my brain, which is unfortunate, right? So a compiler will take this source code, this program that I understand what it does. There's a function here. It's called foo. I make a function call, right? So a compiler is a program that you can feed. Here, let me see if I can do it. So I should be able to use the debug executable. And I can just feed it the verbose command line flag along with this example. I may have to switch. Yes. I'm gonna have to switch out of this directory and run it from here. And as you can see, we convert it into something this program can understand, which is an abstract syntax tree. So you can see there's a function call to foo. There's a function, and it's called foo. It returns an integer. It has this body. You know what I mean? So all of this stuff is now understood by this program, which is the compiler. And this compiler will then generate code usually. So you can see it generates code at code.s. If we take a look at code.s, you can see it is, here I'll indent it. It's assembler code that actually has a function foo, which is a function with all of the stuff in it. We have comments describing what each piece of the assembly does. We have a function bar, and then we have the main function, which is where everything starts. Fnalte says, oh, I see, cool. That's awesome, I'm glad you can understand. But yeah, so we get code, and then we can use a free and open source assembler, the GNU assembler, and we can generate an object file from this code, and then we can generate we can use a free and open source linker, LD, to generate an executable from this object file, and then we can run the executable. And then it's in messages, but shell command failed with code 69, which is exactly what this little program does. It returns 69. First time chat from a new viewer. We got a lot of first time chats right now. This is awesome. It's so good to see all of you. Hey, it's from a follower 3 days ago. Maybe from the YouTube. How's it going? Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo. He says hi. Or they say hi, I should say. LanderXT says, I had to log into Twitch on my new Linux install and nearly missed you looking at me at my PR. We are not done, Landar. We got sidetracked describing what a compiler is for Fnalte. But we are going right back, I promise. Because we're going to merge this puppy. So if we take a look, this incredible PR by Landar, he just took it upon himself and did an amazing amount of work and added license headers to like literally every file using the proper comment delimiter for what it's amazing. I appreciate it so much. I've been putting this off for so long because I didn't do it right at the start, and then it just became horrible. As you can see, 119 changed files. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo says, yeah, loving this series. I really like saying your name. I'm really glad you're loving it. And I'm glad you caught it live. I had to look up comment syntax for some of the languages. I understand. There's a lot in an OS. There's a tab here, but I'm not gonna care about that. I'm gonna, what is this? Scheduler.assembly? Okay. I don't think that matters. There's a space here. There's 2 empty lines here. Oh, because of the shebang. I see. We are gonna have to move that shebang up. Fnalte says, are you officially educated in software? Not a chance. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo says, hee thank you. No problem, your name is awesome. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo. LanderXT says, ooh, nope, I read that. I'm bad at that. Eternal Wild Fox says, good evening. Good evening, Eternal Wild Fox. You are actually the first chatter here. LanderXT says, I see all of these mistakes now. Lol. Don't worry about it. I don't expect anybody to be perfect. The fact that you did 119 files and over 2,000 lines in each one, I'm not really worried about the one line you got wrong. I really appreciate the work still, and I'm still gonna merge it. It's not a big deal to move a shebang up 2 lines, you know what I mean? Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to fix this. Well, I don't know, UEFI might accept new lines at the beginning. Is it the right new line? That's also, I guess it will be converted to the right new line by the auto. Okay. LanderXT says, but also I wiped my drive and don't want to clone the whole source again. Lol. It's true, the source is like 200 megabytes. It's already kind of big. And then you have to like, then you have to build the tool chain, and it's like, oh, this is the problem. Then you have like 5 gigabytes of C compiler in your drive. I know how it is. I have like 4 different LenderOS tool chains. So I understand the pain of dealing with them. What is this? LenderOS.patch, 3 empty lines. This should be fine because it's a diff file. There's also no... Yeah, there's no... This is just a diff file, but there's no license. That's okay. We have the binutils patch. LenderXT says, I didn't touch those files. I see. So this might be a new line issue, like with a Git. So maybe we should think about, what is unescape? I'm curious. I'm going to click it on the small file. I have no idea what escape or unescape means. Lol. Eternal Wild Fox, thank you for tuning in. Udududu, Finalty, Landar, thank you everybody so much. I'm glad we are doing well. Udududu says, what resources do you recommend for learning systems programming? A great amount of motivation to learn systems programming is number one. After that, I'd say you can do just about anything that interests you in that direction, and you'll learn more about it. But writing like an OS, that'll certainly get you to low level. Just learning assembly, like learning what this means, that'll get you on a very, very good level of understanding what the hardware does and what the systems that you're using do. Like, oh, what does sub32 from RSP actually do? Why is this done? What is move RSP RBP? You know what I mean? And if you get that stuff, then you already have a very good base for systems programming. You just have to do stuff. Udududu says, got it, thank you. Awesome. Hopefully that helps. Pick a project and do it is what I recommend. Because you can only get better. Eternal Wild Fox says, damn, I've made great progress in my project. I have basic flow control. It support if and while now. That's crazy. Is that using C#? Like .NET backend? What is that? Where I know you're, what's your compiler compiling to? Or is it bytecode? Is it compiling to bytecode? Finalty says, why are you reading the questions like in text-to-speech? No, I'm just messing with you. Because the questions aren't in the video. So the audio is the only place the questions are heard on like YouTube or in the VOD. If that makes sense. So I make sure to read anything I respond to. Finalty says, I see. Eternal Wild Fox says, now this version does not compile the bytecode, it just runs it. Nice, so you made an interpreter. I like it. You have an interpreter. This is all looking good. Thank you so much, LanderXT. This is an amazing amount of work. I completely forgot about libc, so it's probably important that it's also under the LensOS license. Lol. Ooh, I hate that we have to do this. I don't know why we have to do this. This is completely unrelated, but in the libc of LensOS, we have to use relative paths, otherwise it picks up the wrong headers, because GCC, these are built-ins to GCC. So when we try and compile, it uses like the Windows headers if you're on Windows, or the Linux headers if you're on Linux, and it just breaks everything. So we have to use relative, which is like, we don't use relative includes anywhere in the code base, but libc has to, and it's something we have to fix, for sure. Awesome. These all look great. All libc. I can't believe you did all of you did blaze it. I love that you did the CMake lists as well. Everything. Ududududu says, I am trying to do an arithmetic compiler with VLang that generates assembly. What is VLang? Should I know what that is? The V programming language? And a minivan, apparently. What is this? This is interesting. Hey, look, it's my assignment operator. Everyone thought I was crazy. LanderXT says, just noticed how close you are to 100 followers. Anyone lurking, follow. You will not regret it. Hey, guys, listen to that guy, Lander. He knows what he's talking about. Finalty, thank you so much for the follow. That was 9 minutes ago, but I missed it. We are at 98 followers. With 2 more followers, we'll be at 100. Ududududu says +1. I'm gonna wait for the notification from Twitch. They're famous for being very slow and late. Thank you so much, Ududu. Lander, thank you. This is so cool. I don't know what VLAN is, but it looks cool. I'm kind of curious. I'm gonna save it for later. Yeah, let's say no variable shadowing. Well, that's no fun. Immutable by default, immutable structs by default. What does that mean? You have, ooh, crazy. It's like, okay, so it's like C++ where you have public, private, protected, but this is pub, mute, pub, and mutable. So this is immutable, this is private mutable, this is public immutable, and this is public mutable. This is global. Public and mutable, both inside and outside parent module. I don't know what that means, but ooh. Gonna be using that a lot. RPWH says it's like Rust. I see. It looks better than Rust though. I don't see the horrible syntax. It's syntax I can understand, which is why I'm interested in it. Mr. Mugume says VLAN kick W. Default immutability. Yes. We are gonna have to move this to the top. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a little note. Sure. We're gonna make a topical entry for Lenser OS. And this is going to be some fixes to do. I should say to do some fixes. Okay, what do we got? Scripts / sysroot .chish. Move shebang to top of file. That way it can be a proper script. Okay, I think we've checked everything from here. So we also have the install.sh. Where is that? User libc. This is going to be a lot of things, so we're going to actually do this the other way. I think that's the way to go. Okay, let's make sure that should be it. That should be it. Okay. We got install.sh. LenderXT says, I'll fix that once I get everything set up again. Nah. I'm just going to merge it and do it myself. That's why I'm making the list, my guy. I wouldn't worry about it. You already did so much work. You changed 120 files manually. Me going through and changing 5 is not a big deal. See, this one's perfect. You did most of them perfect. Look at this. It's amazing. I'm not gonna make you reinstall all of Lenser OS just so you can change 2 things. So extra white space in mkgpt. What is this? Scripts. mkgpt. fdisk. Shush. Okay. Was there? Yeah, those are PS1. Make image dash. Bash. Yes. Fine. Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Mugume says the language that leaks memory on a hello world. Lol. We have a tab at scheduler assembly. So we're gonna do a similar thing. What is that? Kernel source? Scheduler.asm, right? Nope, just scheduler.asm. I forgot I undid that. The scheduler was in its own file, but it's no longer in its own file. I forgot I have a random number generator in the kernel, just for the mouse. So prekernel.asm has the same thing. The prekernel, by the way, is the most confusing program I have ever written, and there are literally 100 pieces of paper that were required for me to figure out what the hell this does. The prekernel is scary. I think I overcomplicated it, but it's scary. Okay, we have a lot of kernel source. It all looks perfect. I'm going to assume that it compiles. I know we don't have CI/CD, but it doesn't matter. Oh yeah. What else do we got? Ooh, okay, that's assembly looking perfect. HCI.h. I know I'm skipping through all this, but I think that is it. Oodoo says, do you work with systems programming? Other than this stream, I do not. LenderXT says, you can tell I copy-pasted the assembly files. Well, it's true, but the first one is correct. CPU ID is perfect, but everything after that is a little sketch. The assembly. Ooh, is that an empty? There is an empty line in panic.cpp. Kernel source, panic. What else do we got? The tab and pre-kernel. Scheduler. I really don't care about these little spaces. They don't bother me at all. I'm sure I'll fix them one day if I ever look at the files again. Startup.nsh, that's an important one. Or UEFI. That's literally our boot. In the .git ignore. I don't know why, but it's really funny to me that the git ignore. I don't know if we should license the git ignore. So we'll think about that. Oh god. It's so good. Oodoo says, "Oh, you know a lot." Thank you. Yeah, I'm good at retaining knowledge apparently. No, I'm not. I forget everything. Ask me in 2 months and I will forget it all. LanderXT says the copyright message is bigger than the git ignore. It's true. It's 11 lines. The copyright is 8 lines longer than the git ignore. Oh, that's funny. We got to worry about we don't have to worry about this will still function the same. Everything above the diff is meant to be a like comments in the patch file. So we're all good here, but we could go in and remove this. I'm just going to copy that. Finalty asks, which language do you know? And Negvorsa says, hi everyone. Hello Negvorsa, it's great to see you. I'm so glad you have tuned in again. We are having a bumpin' time today. I'm also on that cocaine, I'm on that caffeine, I'm drinking a Red Bull, so be scared. We're gonna get excited today. Lander says, I accidentally put the comment in some of the other styles. Yeah, and like the CMake, it has it. I really don't care. We're not looking for perfect. We're looking for it works. You know what I mean? Because this is something I've avoided for literally 8 months. So the fact that it's all done, I'm like, it's fine. Anything, it's fine. So I've looked at this like 3 times up and down. I think we're good to merge. There's not any code. There's no executable code that you've added. So there's no like dishonesty in the intention of the PR. It's literally all just perfect. And there's a tiny list of things I have to do, like go remove 1 line of white space from the beginning of a file. It's really not a big deal. This is perfect. Finalty says you ignored me. Oof. I'm sorry, Finalty. I'll look at your question when I can. LenderXT says, I just want to make sure you are legally okay with this. Ooh. If I merge it, that means yes. And legally, I'm pretty sure. Because it says contributors to LenderOS, so the idea is that we now both own all of this code, right? Because you are now a contributor to LenderOS, so this is just as much your OS as it is mine now. Which is the idea. LenderXT says Lens can accidentally get sidetracked and forget messages sometimes. Sometimes it's a generous of you, Lander, to say that. I'd say most of the time. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo says, Lens at your nickname is from Functional Programming Lenses? I don't know what that is. It is not. It is from, like, honestly, it's a music name. It was an artist's name, and I just picked Lenser as like a fake business because it sounded official, like Kodak or something, right? And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. So then Lenser became a thing, and then Lenser OS became a thing, and then, you know how it goes. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo says, haha. Yeah, it's not sophisticated at all. It's like, oh, you know, like, glasses and, like, cameras? Lenses. LanderXT says, I haven't touched one piece of actual code yet. Yep, and that's perfect. That's what I was really searching for, to make sure you didn't slip in, like, a hashtag define true, false, or anything like that. I'd make sure I'm not getting memed, right? But everything looks absolutely beautiful. I think we're just gonna merge it. What does review mean? Ooh, it's sketch. I can just, okay, I don't need to review it. I've reviewed it. Let's definitely just create a merge commit. I think that's the way to go. There's only 3 commits, so I'm totally happy. The naming scheme is just fine, because it's a generic commit. It doesn't have to do with one part of the kernel or just the kernel or anything. It's all of Lenser OS, so the fact that there's no category specifier totally makes sense. And yeah, we're gonna pop this bad boy in. First, and we'll say first ever PR from someone who isn't me. Hooray! Welcome, Landar, to the pool of Lenser OS contributors. It is now yours as much as mine. Wonderful. Hopefully that didn't just delete that message. Oh, crap. It did. Crap. Chat. Okay, so Fanalte said, by the way, earlier, which languages do you know? C, C++, Python, Pascal, Algol 68, assembly, a little bit of R. What else is there? There's more. I can't remember. A lot. Gnarly Quack says lens registered. Lol. Yes. LenderXT says, also thanks for making me sign up to Codeberg. It's now the only place I don't have to have XT in my username. Hey, you got it. We got in early enough. Codeberg hasn't exploded yet. Fanalte asks, Java, HTML, CSS? Definitely JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. I've programmed in Java, but nothing like... I don't like Java, so I don't program in Java. But I do know Java, and JavaScript, and HTML, and CSS, and... You could argue, like, Markdown, and org mode, and JSON, and... Pandas data frames. Excel macros? Kappa. Rust when? Kappa. Lamau. We had 2 Kappas back-to-back. Parallel ideas that are amazing. Gnarly Quack and RPWH just hitting us. Also, GeoWa with the follow, thank you so much. LanderXT says public static void main string array args. Oh god. First time chat from a new viewer. GeoWa says assembly, binary. Definitely assembly. I know lots of assembly. I'm pretty sure I could write FASM, NASM, gas, Intel, or AT&T. There's a lot of assembly that I know. I want to learn other architectures, but it's hard to actually do that when you don't have access to those other architectures. You just have an x86-64. It's a veritable Kappa storm, lol, Gnarly Quack says. Gnarly Quack, binary's easy. There's only 2 things to know. Lamau. Our first ever PR from someone who isn't me. Woohoo! Hooray! It is now as much yours as it is mine. Welcome to the pool LensOS contributors. We're doing 3 hearts this time, everybody. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? Also, is that yours? It is now as much yours. Is this correct? Yours? I don't know. Yours as it is mine. Welcome to the pool of LensOS contributors. Heart, heart, heart. Okay, I think this looks good. If there's like a Rickroll in this commit, in this PR and I missed it, I'm gonna be so embarrassed. Also, hooray, we merged our first ever PR from someone who isn't me. Welcome to the club of contributors. You're now here. You're probably here somewhere. Activity? Hello? Hey, there you are. Our first contributor. Look at us. LenderXT says, I missed the opportunity. You did. It's already merged. It's gone. Gnarly Quack says, I would like to learn assembly though. Finalty says, what about DJs? 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 I don't know what that is. Is that like Django? I know like Django and Flask and like Python web servers. I don't think that's what you're talking about. DJS. GeoWa says, I had to learn assembly to make my compiler. LanderXD said, Porth? Corth? I also know all of those. That's correct. Lisp. I love Lisp. I know that one. But I could, like, literally write a Lisp interpreter for you right now. I'm not going to because it'd take a while, but I could just from scratch. I know how all of it works. Finalty says, Discord JavaScript, lol. Oh yeah, I've used the Discord webhooks and their API and stuff. I haven't, like, fully fleshed out a bot yet, but I've played with it. Discord APIs are a mess. Just like Twitch, baby. Just like Twitch. Gnarly Quack said he would like to learn assembly. You absolutely can. Gnarly Quack says, I don't believe you. Lenser, code it now. Well, if you go ahead and go over to my Codeberg, you can, or my GitHub, you can check out my text editor, which happens to be a Lisp interpreter. And just check out this little evaluation.c. Yeah? How about that? Catch me outside? No. But yeah, here's a Lisp interpreter. Done. And it's very fully fleshed out. It's got like crazy features in it, like eval simple, doc strings, macros, progging, while. We got if, we got lambdas, we got define, we got set even. We got define and set. We got quote. It's the classic Lisp. We got quote. And these are just the special forms. You should see the built-ins, baby. You should see them built-ins. Look at all these built-ins. It won't even load. There's so many built-ins. There's literally a lot of built-ins. You know what I mean? And these are all accessible from Lisp. Member, setcooter, setcar, const, gooder, car, buffer p, string p. That sounds like string bean. Okay, I'm having too much fun. I should code. LanderXT with the light link. Thank you so much, Lando. You are on top of it today. God damn. You're always on top of it, really. In comparison. Gnarly Quack says the text editor that consumed the world. Wah ha ha ha. That's right. Light gonna take over. Basically Emacs though. Shh. Don't tell anybody. Shh. No, I'm kidding. It is just Emacs. I wanted to write my own Emacs. I was like, Emacs is awesome, and I want to see how it works under the hood. And it was like, ooh, that was a great choice. I learned a lot. LenderXD says, eventually someone else will send the links before me. Maybe. Maybe. That depends if we keep growing. After getting those 2,000 views on that one video, haven't had it since. Gnarly Quack says, yeah, lens registered, max. Instead of lens max, Lamau. Ooh, Lendor said we should make a bot for our Discord that has one command. GNU! It just sends back a picture of Richard Stallman. And if you and a link to like the Free Software Foundation page. First time chat from a new viewer. What's up? How's it going? LenderXT says you have enough YouTube subscribers to get a custom link now, right? Do I really? That would be dope. Can I do that? Okay, I can't get distracted. That was a planned attack. It was a planned attack. I'm not getting distracted. Can I really, though? I didn't know that. I have 250 subscribers now. That'd be sweet. Gnarly Quack says, I'd prefer the picture of an actual GNU, personally. Or like their weird... Have you seen like the hand-drawn logo for GCC? It's a little spooky. It's like, ooh, I don't know if I should be horny or productive. Anyway, Lamau. LenderXT says 100, I think. Damn, so I could have done it a while ago. I'm a fool. Thank you for letting me know. I'm definitely going to get that custom link. It's going to be like /6969 your baby daddy and on your mama 6969. Right? That's a good link. Do you think that's good custom link, everybody? I think that matches my brand and everything. I have to upload a banner image. Oof. I don't even know what that is. I'm an idiot when it comes to fucking using the tools that are in front of me. I'm like, yeah, I just click buttons in Emacs. I don't really know how to use YouTube or anything or Twitch, so... Gnarly Quack says, oh yeah, that GCC GNU is creepy. Let me see if I can find it. Look at this. What is this? I feel like I should be, like the eyes follow me as I move my head around. It always looks at you if you notice. It's never looking away. It's like those posters. LenderXT says the image stretched at the top of your channel page. Oh, like on Twitch where it says like Lenser over and over. They put in an automatic banner. You're saying I can upload an image and put it there. I'm just gonna do like a close-up of inside my nostrils. How about that? Gnarly Quack. I'm coming for you. I like the personification of the GNU. The GCC GNU. Also, we're saying the GNU compiler collection GNU, which is just confusing. Because GNU stands for GNU's not Unix, so we're saying GNU's not Unix, compiler collection GNU's not Unix. It's a little confusing. I eat up all your C code and poop out assembly. Lol. That's Gnarly Quack, by the way. I didn't just come up with that. Neg Vorsa says, if you generate NASM macro assembly code, you will get optimization and a lot of helpful features. True. Very true. If I'm smart enough to do that. We will do that. So we can run the compiler, but I don't think we're actually rebuilding it, which is our problem. So let's go ahead and use CMake, write our little compile command. We're going to use -- build and build the debug build tree, run the executable run the executable it generates, and I think that will be good. So now we do a rebuild. Perfect. Worked great. I wish I could turn this off in Emacs, but it's fine. LenderXT says Duolingo. In response... Reading the punchline first is comedy gold. Penalty says, best way to learn new language? Duolingo. That's so good. Penalty, in all honesty, just go... I don't know. For you, you have to learn how you learn, right? I can help you out. I can explain things if you have specific questions, but I don't know how you learn, so you just need to go do it. I recommend choose a project and go do it. Like, I want to call printf from assembly, and then you go figure out how to do that, right? Or if you want to learn like C#, you'd be like, I'll download Unity and try and make like Flappy Bird or something, right? Just have a goal and complete it. Don't be so stubborn that you don't ever fail, and you'll go far in life. Gnarly Quack says, aren't there two syntaxes based on the assembler one is using? Yep. Gnarly Quack said, also, it doesn't matter the assembler you're using. A lot of assemblers support both, which is terrifying. Like AT&T syntax and Microsoft syntax or something like that. You're close. It's AT&T and Intel. So our code that we generate, Finalty says, thanks for the advice. Of course. Also, I'm 19 and just a child, so grain of salt and everything. So AT&T syntax is, first of all, you have percentage signs in front of every single register. So RAX is actually the A register, right? Yes, please, why? Comments. So you have the RAX is actually the A register extended, right? Which is what the X is for, AX. But that's only 16 bits. So it's actually the really big, I don't know what the R stands for. Does anybody know what the R stands for? But the R means that it's 64 bits. So you can also do like 16-bit operations still on AX, which is 16 bits. Or you can use AL, which is 8 bits. Or you can use EAX, which is 32 bits. You know what I mean? And this is extended. Yes, extended A register extended, which is 32 bits. It's confusing, but it does work. And there's a percentage sign in front of every one. So you know if you see a percentage sign, that's a register in the CPU. And then you also have left to right. So when we do, for example, an add, you can see that we add 8 into RSP, and the result of add is stored in the right-hand side and also added to the right-hand side. So the operand and result are the same register in AT&T syntax and x86-64. So in Intel syntax, this add instruction would look something like this. Because Intel syntax, you do right to left. So the destination is always right next to the mnemonic, this instruction here. So you would add RSP to 8. So you'd say, okay, RSP plus 8, and RSP will equal that. So they write it in this way. AT&T writes it this way. And you can also just use like .intel syntax or something like this in the GNU assembler, and you can just use this syntax. You still have to put that stuff, but it switches the destination and source if you really care. Lander XT says, I realize in about a year's time you'll probably invite all of us to your 1 million YouTube subscriber hackathon, and I'm ready. I am ready. That sounds exciting. That sounds awesome. If I had 1 million YouTube subscribers, can you imagine? I don't know, 1 million people? That just doesn't even make sense. That's confusing. Negvorsa says, yes, hopefully that makes some sense with Intel syntax. Gnarly Quack says, and they're actually the same register, right? You're just indicating how much of it you want to write into. Gnarly Quack is exactly correct. So I was talking about this. So the fact that you have something like EAX, this would refer to this section here. This is how we're going to do this. So that's 16 zeros. So let's think about that. That's 64 zeros. So EAX would be, here, let's think about this, right? And then you had like, let's see, like that. That would be RAX. Oh boy. This is like turning into a LensorOS comment. If you look at LensorOS, this is what it looks like. There's a bunch of comments doing this. That's weird. There we go. And then there's also AL and AH, which are rarely used and not really fully supported. So AH refers to that. Whoops, I'll just leave it blank. It doesn't matter. Whoops. There we go. Hopefully that answers your question. So this is a binary number, 0B, right? So this is the actual CPU register with zeros and ones. And then this is how you can access them with the different register names. LenderXT says, and all of them will have seen our names in chat. They will now. Look at all these wonderful, fantastic people. I love all of you. Gnarly Quack says Lenser registered tube. That's a rated R. That's when I start my OnlyFans. But yeah, Gnarly Quack, they are absolutely the same register. And you just access them in different ways. Hopefully that makes sense. But that type of diagram always helped me out. Gnarly Quack says all comments and a dozen or so lines of code. That's what we do around here. We write to-do comments and fix-me comments, and every once in a while we write some code. And be sure to use this flag when compiling. It'll help you. Oh, I love that pull request so much. LenderXT, Lenser, the series, premieres on Netflix June 18th. 9 p.m. Eastern and Central. I missed a chat from Eternal Wild Fox. Try to redesign my idea again to support bytecode with if and while. That sounds very complicated. That's awesome. Gonna need like a jump instruction and an instruction pointer, and it's gonna get more complicated. You're gonna get closer and closer to Turing completeness. Completeless is almost what I said. Completeness. Yo, Lender the series on Netflix. That's so funny. June 18th is the 169th day of the year. Well, that's pretty pog. That's where it's at. So, from what I remember, we should probably try and do this and get some better errors. That's right. Let's do this. So, when we take a look at CodeGen, we did this little thing when we're codegenning a program where we generate global variables. And we did this because the global variables have to be in the data section of the executable. LenderXT says, and the day the Battle of Waterloo was fought. I wish I was not American so I could know what that was. Americans don't know history at all. We got told, like, oh yeah, a few hundred years ago, there's like some stuff that happened, and it was crazy. Everyone was racist, and totally no one is anymore, right? And then, yeah, anyways, good to go, kids. Play with these crayons. It's like, oh, Christ. This is not good. But I don't know history at all. I'm sorry. I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant. I'm that guy. I should probably know more history, but I don't. Or you're memeing on me, and Waterloo is like something something I should know. I'll never know. Also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Fanalte Giowa, thank you so much for the follows today. I greatly appreciate it. We were at 99 followers. One more follow, and we are at 100. Whoever's our 100th follower, I'll shout you out. I have been streaming for an hour and not written any code, but I have had a lot of fun, so I think that's just as worth it. In any case, we generate the global variables, and our little issue is that, well, this isn't an issue. This is fine. We just allocate space in the executable in the data section for these variables. Nothing is a problem, because these are all in the global context, and they don't generate their own context. They're just variables. Lander XT says it was when Napoleon Bonaparte, that guy that sailed around the world, and the French Empire was defeated by a coalition of other European powers, including the UK and the Netherlands. So it was like a World War Zero. That's pretty pog. So Napoleon, from what I remember, was like short guy, went around the world killing everybody. I don't know, I think the most I know about Napoleon is from like a terrible movie that had Napoleon as a short guy in it. I don't even remember. Lander XT says basically. I like it. My movie education is is working out in life. It's basically correct. There is... Why do we have to do and then make the error? I don't know. I don't know what this to do is here for. I'm just gonna remove it. But then we kind of got on a roll, and we're like, oh, we do global variables, why not do global functions? And that's a terrible, stupid idea, and it doesn't work. And I'll point out why. So do you see that we have this little, like, next child context pointer? That's because when we compile a program, we get this not just an abstract syntax tree, that's part of the program, but it's abstract, it doesn't have like everything we need. It's just the idea of what the program represents. This is what should happen in what order and to what things. But it doesn't describe what the things are, like a variable access of putter. It doesn't repeat, oh, there's a variable putter and it's this type. It just says, yeah, it's just a variable access of the symbol putter. Because that's all that's needed in the AST. That's what abstract syntax tree means versus a parse tree or a concrete syntax tree or what have you. So with this abstract syntax tree, we also generate a parsing context. You can think of this like a scope or an environment or whatever you want. It contains types, variables, functions, and things like that. And these all contain data that, like metadata, about these different symbols, right? Gnarly Quack says the 1812 Overture, which is popular in the US for the 4th of July, is actually a Russian composition celebrating their defeat of Napoleon as he tried to advance into Russia. That's awesome. That sounds pretty pog. Lander XT says Napoleon spent a while traveling between Europe and Egypt, I think. In response to... Gnarly Quack says, well, I don't think he sailed anywhere until he was exiled to Corsica, but yeah, he basically conquered most of the European continent for a while. Nice, so he's not on a boat. That was just me making stuff up. He just led an army. Lander said Napoleon used the French Revolution and the chaos it created to assume all control and start an empire where he took over most of Europe and put his family members as leaders. Surprising. That still happens. That's crazy. I mean, it doesn't sound like he was like a super bad guy. He was kind of power hungry, right? He saw an opportunity and is like, ooh, I'm gonna yoink that throne. I'm gonna just usurp that right from under you, thank you. It's like in Skyrim, right? That's what you do in Skyrim. Nobody hates the Skyrim main character. Napoleon had the same problem as German World War II leader invading Russia. He wasn't prepared for the harsh winter. Ugh, nobody's prepared for the harsh winter in Russia. Polar bears, maybe. Gnarly Quack says Lander XT, yes. Eternal Wildfuck says, Lens, for my next project, I also want to include functions. I had an idea this afternoon to factor out the functions with factoring out the function in mean dumping the function's body into place where you can where you call the function more or less. Nice, okay. I think I see what you mean. You're talking about function inlining by default. That is a bit of an issue, but it will work. So you're saying like if you had a function foo, which took in a and b, and then you called foo with like 2 and 3, this would just get converted into like, let's say it returns a plus b. This would just be converted into a plus b. So you'd have functions that just replace what they are, which means it would be 2 plus 3. So these are macros, if you don't know. Eternal Wild Fox. This would be described as a macro, where you can pass in things and they get replaced into the body of a written. That's a macro, is generally how that's referred to, because evaluation won't happen of these arguments. Because if you do this, 2 plus 3, it's kind of hard to do 2 plus 3 plus 3 unless you have parentheses, and then it's still complicated, right? There's a lot that can go down. LanderXT says, finally making chat on topic, but we're learning about history. On topic, off topic, you know, it's all the same. It's all the same, man. Gnarly Quack says, we've turned this into the history channel of LensorTube, lol. It's true, and we've lost all our viewers. We've scared everybody away. Gnarly Quack says, could be pretty much everything I know about Napoleon I've just typed into chat, lol. That was earlier, but I missed it. Lander says he was super smart military general and invented multiple modern combat tactics. Also, the minions worked for Napoleon. Is that canon? Those little yellow thumbs worked for that guy? Also, let's talk about why this sucks. So when we have our parsing context, how do we know which node refers to? Like, we could keep a pointer in every node and say it's in this context. And that's really annoying. There's no reason we can't do that, but it's just really annoying. We have to rewrite a bunch of code and make every node point to the context, and then we have 8 extra bytes in every node, and it doesn't matter. LenderXT says, in the opening of the first Minions film, never seen it, shows all of their leaders and Napoleon is one of them. That was pretty pog. It makes sense how he conquered Europe then. Gnarly Quack says, I think the moral we all take away is conquering the world can be pretty dope until you start to lose. Well, history lessons with Gnarly Quack. Oh, so good. Lander with the Despicable Me fandom wiki link. We gotta go to this. Okay, we have to. Hello. So that's Napoleon. Okay. He's 40. Okay. That seems old for back then. He hired the minions to be in his army. During the supposed invasion of Russia, Stuart accidentally tilts the cannon to be aimed close to his bottom. The cannon fires, nearly hitting Napoleon and sending him flying into the air. He also dances with everybody and joined in running away from a T-Rex. What a wiki. What a wiki entry, everybody. Very on topic, I should say. There's something in the Discord. Or no, just ignore this. This is my best friend's YouTube channel. Oh, that's the banner. He's talking about the banner. Nice. Okay. LanderXT says, I think that's all you need to know. It's true. It's everything you might want to know. And more. But yeah, so this little context basically maps symbols, like integer, to a type, which is integer or function, and then the size of that type, which we haven't really fleshed out how that's going to work yet. But if you want to reserve one of these types on the stack, that's how big it would be. Because currently I think we're working with function pointers as our low-level implementation. Who knows? We're going to keep it going. But yeah, it also stores variables that have been defined in scope. So if we take a look at the pointers, you can see number, numputter. Numputter looks like our last variable, and you can see that is first in the list because we just add to the top. So we have number and numputter as global variables, which they definitely are. And in child scopes, so you can see we have two functions, foo and bar. But in child scopes, I know it's hard to see, but they're indented. So types, variables, and functions here is actually this scope here, this block scope, because it's within the global scope and it's the first one, so it's the first child. So the second one is the second child, etc. You see it has pointer, pointer. Alrighty, so LanderXT says, also, considering that's where all this started, another cool fact about June 18th to me is that it's my sister's birthday. That's awesome. We'll have to say happy birthday to her on our, what day were we talking about? Oh yeah, our hackathon. I think we now need a Napoleon Bonaparte and Napoleon Dynamite dance smackdown. That would be dope. Napoleon Bonaparte and Dynamite. Bonamite and Dynapart. That's what I would like to see. We were talking about the premiere of Lenser the series. LanderXT, you are correct. You can see my memory of a goldfish unravel in real time. Gnarly Quack says, lol. Lol. But yes, when we generate global functions, you can see that we iterate the child context so that we can look up the proper thing, so that when we're cogenning the function, also it's in cogen function. That's why I just got confused. It's right up here somewhere. Cogen function. You can see we get our our parsing context, and then we update the parsing context to the next child, which means we'll skip over the context after we use it. But here's the thing, that's not the only thing that creates contexts, which is quite obvious if instead of doing pointers, we did greatest common denominator. And you can see that in this one, there's an if and an else, and an if and an else. So what we have is the function with a and b as variables, but it has children because the if then has a scope, the if otherwise has a scope, right, the else, and in the otherwise scope, there's two more scopes for the if and the otherwise. So if we were to, for example, do something like this, if 1, and then just put anything here, like 0, it really doesn't matter, and then try and compile this, it shouldn't work, because the context that we will be searching within is incorrect. As you can see, there's this context, which has nothing in it. And when we go to CodeGen, no, it looks like it worked. Don't worry about it. But when we go to CodeGen, we're actually going to increment the next child context into this wrong one. So when we try and look up these integers, they'll be incorrect. In any case, LanderXT says, my Debian clock is an hour off, and I was so confused as to why you started streaming so much later to normal. Lol. I started streaming like 9, but it's true, it is late today. Gnarly Quack says, at Lenser, I'm gonna head out and get my day started, but I wanted to drop in and say hi. But the upside is I'll no longer be derailing your focus in chat. Have fun with the coding. If we get any done, we will. Thank you, Gnarly Quack. I thank you so much for tuning in. And I am happy to have had you. Thank you. And have a great day. Get your day started. Do some stuff. Get it done. I know how you feel. Also, I don't know usernames followed 3 minutes ago. We now have 100 Twitch followers. Heyo, everybody want to celebrate? We can do like a... We're gonna explode. Woo! Yeah. What else? We should do a... Let's do a rainbow. Yeah. Everybody like rainbows? Gnarly Quack says, thanks, some coding of my own, hopefully. Ooh, I'm excited. You have fun, Gnarly Quack. Get some stuff done. Lander XT says, well played. Neg Vorsa with the holiday log and the sings note. We got celebrations all around. We got creeper faces from Lander. Lander XT says, I'm a bigger offender on that front, referring to distracting me. You may be correct. You may be correct. But yeah, so we can't generate global functions like this. It's just wrong. And this was just an optimization, so it shouldn't matter. Right? And effectively, what is this? Why this? Function footer. Where are we? Am I in the wrong spot? No, CodeGen program. What do we got? We have section text, so as soon as we go here, shouldn't there be like a main? Did I delete too much? Generate global functions. Yeah, I think I should not delete past here. Whoops. That's better. And also we can merge these into one call. I guess we can, we'll do that. Put a little tab in there. I guess that should be not tabbed and these should be tabbed, is how that should work. As for the function header, we could probably do the same thing. It's just below. There they are. We'll do something like this. We should just write a custom function that indents everything properly. What do we got? Why are you mad? Next child context undeclared. Fair. So we'd use next child context when cogenning our program. And we just want it to be equal to our first child. Hello? Oh, next child context is what it's called. So good to have all of you. So I think just children. Also, parsing context, if you look, it really feels like it should just be a node. With the with what it has, I feel like the environments should also be nodes, and they should be children of the parsing context node. And then everything would just be a node, and it would be simple. We wouldn't have to have all these confusing types. In any case, I think we'll get there, or we'll just implement them as hash maps and go that route. So now when we're codegenning, we're going to have no issues, but if we take a look at the code, there is no... Also, that's kind of nice indenting where you can see the start of every function. In any case, there isn't any actual functions generated on the global level. I think I'm going to remove those /t's just to be consistent across the code for now. But if we ever decide to do that, we'll do that. Full send. Lander XD says they have common English language names such as Dave, one of the first known minions in the franchise, Kevin, Stuart, Bob, the lead trio in Minions and Minions The Rise of Gru, Mel, the leader of the Minions in Despicable Me 3, and Otto, the fourth lead minion in Minions The Rise of Gru. Christ. That's a storyline and a half. Lander XD says these streams make every party involved less productive. I was going to be working on something. Can't even remember anymore. That's how productive we are around here. Ooh, no thanks. Lol. It's true. These streams are meant to distract and entertain, not focus and produce. Like, I'm not going to force you to work. So, Lambda XT says, you actually read it out. I did. There's a YouTube link. I'm risking it. Minions 3 Return of Nefario full movie. Why was Drew not in this? Oh Christ, I'm scared. What did you link me? What is this? I'm scared. There's a lot going on there. So when we codegen expressions, when there are functions, before we'd say if they're apparent, break. But what we're gonna do is not that. We're gonna say function. We don't really know the name yet, so because we just use result as the name, which is interesting. Why do we use result as the name? What is in result? Isn't it just a new node? It equals null. Okay, just checking. So let's take a look at what that did. Nearly. Nearly. I don't see any labels for the names of the functions. They're automatically named. Are they still, do they work? Like when we call? See, we call GCD Euclid. There's no actual function named that, so that's an issue. So how are we getting the name before? Let's do a little git rewind, checking out what we got before. So before, we would use what for the name of the function? Function ID value symbol, and function ID, so we basically got, yeah, we used the function's context. So we're gonna have to do that same thing now. I'm surprised we haven't dealt with this yet. So when we codegen a function, we're gonna have to get the name of the function. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a lot. So result has labeled generate. Drew Gaming is an alt account of mine, lol. Lamau, the peak of humanity, those Minions movies. Truthfully. So we need to get a better name. Ideally, we only want to generate a label if, like, we don't have a name. So let's get a from the functions environment and get that one. And what's our ID? So here's the confusing thing. We don't know the name of the function. This is annoying. Let's think about this. We haven't had to deal with this yet because of our little side tracks, our little hacks to make it work, right? Why does my Drew Gaming account have 54 subscribers? Does it really? It does. You don't have any videos. What? What? That's awesome. You gotta start uploading, my guy. What should function return? That's a good question. Probably... Just gonna make a note. Probably function pointer slash begin instruction address. Something like that. In any case, should I upload a gaming video using Drew voice clips for commentary? It could go viral. That sounds very popular. So here's the issue. We need to actually know the name. So we could assume that the next child context is the function. So it won't have the name, will it? It won't. It won't. So it's almost like we need to keep track of which function we have generated so far. Or we could just store the function name in the AST, but then that means lambdas need names, which isn't really cool. Let's think about this. But that is a great idea, uploading a gaming video with Drew doing commentary. Just voice clips. So we have a context. Next child context refers to our actual, like this is the global context. So then it could point here, it could point here. But these don't contain any data about like where they're stored, which is not ideal. Lander XT says, which isn't really cool. How high is coolness factor on your priority list? Probably too high. No, it's very low. I don't know. I just mean it's not, it's not cool with me. It's a problem. Lander XT says, Lenzer, 288 subscribers. Paug. Yee. Is that how good the YouTube is doing? That's awesome. I'm happy if the YouTube is doing that well. Man, I don't want to deal with this function naming thing, but it's definitely going to be an issue. So let's just think about how this little issue could be solved. We have this thing, and to generate code for it, we need to know its name. But that's not really possible. Do we have to do a backwards lookup? Like, I don't want to look up a function to get the name of a function, because that means we have to compare literally every node here, and that's obviously not efficient. Lander XT says, I don't remember if I asked this already, but would you ever produce content for just YouTube without streaming? Maybe. I just suck at video editing. I hate the videos I produce. And I know that when I stream, I don't think about that. It's just like, I'm doing it. And I can do this. It's easy. It's not easy, but I can do it repeatedly. And it won't break me down mentally. Whereas editing videos is just so demoralizing for me. Because it's like, I spent 8 hours on this and I still hate it. Lander XD says, pay me $0 to edit YouTube, not a scam. Lol. I would feel bad. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it's really worth it. And plus, if you did do it, I would have to compensate you in some way. I'd feel bad if I didn't. I already feel bad enough with open source accepting PRs. Like, thanks for doing all this work. I'm gonna just yoink it. And, thanks. I gotta check my phone. Yeah. So, if you've ever, lit a charcoal fire, you know that you end up with black boogers, because the soot and the dust is so fine that it gets in your nose and stuff, unless you wear like a really, really powerful respirator, which you don't really want to do in front of a fire. It's not really the enjoyable part. So to avoid that, I'm getting a gas forge, something that uses liquid propane as a fuel. So that will, it's going to be a little more expensive fuel-wise, because charcoal is cheap here, but it's going to get hot faster, so it's going to need less time on. And it's also just going to be safer all around, because I won't be breathing in terrible dust. And that's the notification on my phone, is that I found a source. It's going to happen. Anyway, Lander XT says, live stream saying Landar is the best person ever, repeatedly. We'll do a 3-hour Landar stream, just me saying. It's like when someone gets in trouble, it's just, Landar is the best person ever. Landar is the best person ever. Landar is the best person ever. Just for 3 hours. That would be incredible. Okay, what are we doing? We don't know the function's name. I feel so dumb. Right? We need to know the function's name. Otherwise, we have no way to call that same function. LanderXT says that is now permanently available to the internet. That's true. All of these streams, all of this code, permanently available. It's kind of terrifying. Okay. So we have this context which contains our data, and it doesn't contain the name of the function, and neither does the AST. So we're kind of like sitting here with our member in our hands, right? Just sitting around, and we don't really know how to get the name of the function. We have this data. YouTube has a clips feature now, therefore I will make that a clip. Yeah. You're gonna send that to everybody, like, look, I'm the best person ever. This guy said so. Negvorsa says, what about making an induction heater for some small jobs? I definitely thought about that. It's just more expensive. It'd be like $250 for me to get everything I need, because I don't have a high voltage power supply. So I'd have to get a 48 volt power supply, and then that's like $100, and then I'd have to get... It's rough. Money is rough. But Negvorsa, you are absolutely right. That would be like a dream. You just stick the steel in it and it's hot in like 2 seconds. LenderXT says, I will make a 10-hour loop of you saying I'm the best person ever. That would be incredible. It's going to take a long time to upload. So, just so we get something done, I'm just going to do something dumb, right? And we're going to say fill result with ID bound to value in environment if successful. Fill result with ID bound to value in environment if successful. Return 1 for success, 0 for failure. We're going to say get by value. It doesn't look too complicated. Heyo. So to get something by value, we're basically just going to say the same thing that we do here. Loop over the thing. Compare the thing. Return the thing. That's pretty much it. LanderXT says, you upload 2 to 3 hour long videos every day. It's true, but I use the Twitch export feature, so I never have to download the video. It never touches my hands, it doesn't use my internet. Twitch just transfers it right to YouTube for me. It's fantastic. If I had to download and upload the videos, it would literally take like 2 weeks before I could upload the videos that I download. It would suck. My internet is residential, let's say. American residential, so non-existent, pretty much. Okay. So, obviously this is not ideal. It's not ideal to do backwards lookup. Especially for functions nodes which contain the body. Oh well, let's do it anyways. So let's say get got. We're gonna rename this, but we'll have get got. And then we're gonna have to say like while Context iterator, is that how I did it? Do I do while context and then... Does anybody remember? I don't remember. So effectively, the idea... Also, I know I'm jumping all over the place. I am sorry. So we're going to have a parsing context iterator. And it's going to equal the parent. We're going to search all parent contexts. And each environment, we're going to check the functions environment for the function that we have, which is our expression. And we're going to look for the what? Its value. What do we have? Do we have any nodes? We have temp node. Okay, we'll use temp node. And I have to dereference this. LanderXT says, my internet is literally a ripoff of the worst ISP in my country. Oof. Just found out my ISP is directly owned by Comcast. My ISP is Comcast, so welcome to hell. It's great to join you. So I don't need equals 0. We can say get got equals 1. And then we'll say if not get got, do this thing. Right? Cool. And then we're going to have to free result. We never free result, which is a little worrying, but whatever. Fix me. Completely memory leaked here. No chance of freeing. It's true. Alrighty. We've been streaming an hour and a half. I would just like to point everybody to the link in the About section to the Discord. We have a ton of fun. We have great conversations about code, about everything. You can share your progress on any projects that you are working on. Do you see why I was confused? I was like, projects that you were progress on? What? I can't speak. Doesn't matter. But yeah, we have a ton of fun. I really recommend joining, and it's amazing here. We're all friends. There is also the YouTube down below if you want to check out any previous broadcasts, and the GitHub if you want to check out all this code, because it is open source on GitHub, along with an OS that me and Landar here have worked on, and as well as a text editor. LenderXT says, I'm gonna commit the sin of going back into Windows. What? You're never supposed to come back. So we could use result. Temp node contains, so we're just gonna say why is this a problem? It should be fine. It's pointers. Char pointer from node pointer. Result is a char pointer. Okay. We're just gonna worry about this. Yeah. So we have this value, which is a function. We look it up in the, we get it in the temp node. We keep track of its symbol. And then we use that symbol as the name of our function. To do node compare function. Fair. Fair. Parser. To do node compare function. Here we are. I don't think it should be different than any other node too much. Just compare its children, right? Because if we look at a function node, it just has children. So we just need to compare children. Is there any others like that? Do we already compare all the children? We don't. We just say if they're the same type, compare them. So if they're two functions, we already checked they're the same type. So to compare two functions, we should compare all children. So to compare two functions, recursively, what are we doing? Compare all children. I was like, recursively, I forgot the verb. LenderXT says, don't act like I actually helped CodeLenser OS. I might at some point, but not with my current PR. It's more like manual labor. That's fine with me. You still worked on it. You're listed in the contributors now, so you are officially an owner of Lenser OS. Because you are mentioned in every single one of those license messages that you added to those files. Contributors to Lenser OS. That's who owns it. So you're just as much part of it as me. Pretty dope. To compare two functions, recursively compare all children. Basically, while a children. So you would think that I would compare all children anyways, right? This is what's a little confusing. So do we want to say two nodes are equal? So we're going to do node compare recurse. And we're going to have a little bit of a change here. Node compare recursive. Perfect. So we're going to say if one of them is null and they're not, basically if one of them is null and they're both null, return true, they're equal. Null and null are equal. If one is null and the other isn't, they're not equal. And then we would like to say, what? Compare all children recursively. This is probably a horrible idea. By the way, just gonna let you know, I don't need to do that. I need to do this. Now I need to wait for you to publish version 0.0.2 and I can put developed an OS on my resume. Lol. It's true. You can already do it. They'll see your name there. They'll trust you like, ooh, you worked on it. Nobody actually looks into anything. So I think this we're going to use node compare. And we're just going to do like that, right? So we're going to say a chilled room. Sure. While a child, if not b child, I guess I should do while a child and b child, and then say they're not there. I don't know. We'll think about how to loop over these effectively. Should probably just have. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We'll do it. So the a child is we're basically wanna node compare recursive on all of these. I don't know how this is going to work yet either. Just bear with me. So we're going to say if this equals 0, return 0. Otherwise keep going, return 1 here. So we first could probably compare literally the first node that we are given, A and B, and say basically if node compare of A and B equals 0, what do we do? Return 0. So if they don't match these two nodes, we say no good. But then we want to do the same thing for all the children. We're just going to get rid of that comment for now. Fun fact, there are only 2 repos listed as Hobby OS on Codeberg. That's crazy. Codeberg is small, so I guess that makes sense, but I can't imagine making an OS is a common thing to do, just for fun. Most people do it for a job or to solve a problem or I don't know. Just it's probably pretty rare. That's awesome though. What's the other one? I'm curious. If A child or B child return 0. Because they should both be null. Okay, so we loop over these two linked lists and compare both each time, which will compare all their children, and etc. Whew, this is complicated. There's MorOS. Moros? This is the other OS on Codeberg. Obscure Rust operating system. Ooh. It's text-based. Looks like a TTY emulator. Maybe not an emulator. It uses BIOS. Nice. This project started from the 7th post of the 2nd edition of Writing an OS in Rust. That's a very Rust-like sentence. They've got a lot done. They have a text editor already, and oh Christ. Oh, I see. They're using external libraries. That's smart. That way you don't have to deal with it. I see. Crates.io. I get it now. It's a Rust thing. This is very cool. I'll have to check it out. I'm interested. So, compare all children recursively. We can stay excited. So, for each child, compare it recursively. And eventually, if something isn't equal, it'll bubble up all the way and return 0. Okay. If one has more children than the other, then this will be true because one of these will not be null. When we get here, they should both be null. So this should work out. So now we have node compare recursive. I also put it above for some ungodly reason. And this is going to be recursive. Perfect. Negvorsa says, why I feel that the while is duplication here. Negvorsa says, while is duplication. I'm not sure. We're just looping over both of these children, these linked lists, while we are going. And as soon as one of them becomes null, we'll stop using it. We won't dereference it. We'll get out of here. And if only one of them is null and not the other, we'll return 0. I think this is fine. Because node compare recursive will say, compare A child and B child. If those aren't equal, we'll say nah, nah, nah. Then we'll use those children from there. LenderXT says there are more operating systems on Codeberg. Nice, but yes, but no other hobby OSs, right? That's what you said? They were under like the hobby OS tag? This one. Are they under OS? Yeah, probably under OS. Not too bad. This is... Oh, it's just a Linux distro. I get excited. I get excited. This looks very good. Scary. Bifurcate. Very experimental. Very cool. Looks like a not too bad of a run system. x86-16. What? This is cool. It almost reminds me of like a Commodore. Like a little 16-bit computer running on a 64-bit. Cool. Very cool. I like this. I'll have to explore more. It's so much fun. Yeah, I think this should be fine. So now, we just have to think about what we have to do. Why did I want to do that? Why did I want to do that? Oh, because we got to do compare Well, this is going to be real messy, but hey, it worked. We still got to do node compare function, which is valid. If the type matches, then it's just return 1 as far as node compare. So node compare function, if they're both functions, then we just return 1. Valid. 2 function nodes with matching type are always equal. The only difference would be found in the children. Sure. Node compare variable declaration. Why are we comparing a variable declaration? I'm not sure. I guess we have to do a bunch of node compares because we're comparing the function body. So let's think about a variable declaration and what would make it... Like, the variable declaration itself would be equal if the symbol matches. It's one child symbol matches, right? That would be pretty much it. So we just want to check the child symbol for a variable declaration. Check child symbol for variable declaration. And this isn't going to be the most efficient, but it doesn't matter. I don't know what that was. Node children? What is it called? A and B. So 2 matching types. Let's compare their symbols, right? Node compare of if. This is such a messy function. I should just do one node compare, should I not? I should just have this be one thing. This should probably just go at the end of this, should it not? Is there a reason it doesn't? I don't think there's a reason it shouldn't go there. So we're going to leave it like this. And I think we can even put it behind all this type crap. So we'll make sure that they are the matching type. And if they're not the matching type, we'll return 0. Right? And then we'll compare all the children. We don't want to return 1 here. We just want to be able to return 1 if they are equal. That's right. We're changing how it works, folks. We're changing how it works. We're trying it out. Whee! You live and you learn. Perfect. Perfect. It just is recursive now. To do node compare binary operator. So now that we compare all children, we can kind of say that if the type is equal, so this would compare value of node. Compare all children. Compare types of nodes. I'm just going to put this up at the top. Sure, we'll save that. Ooh, first time chat from a new viewer, The Assailer. Sweet name. General compiler or fixed grammar? I would say fixed grammar, but I'm not entirely certain what you mean. I'm not the authority on words. LanderXT says both the main LenderOS repository and my fork are at the top of the search results for bootloader on Codeberg for some reason. I'm not logged in case you thought it was that, lol. That's really cool. Also, he says this is a Unix-based system. Illumos Lumos? Ooh, Control is held down. The CDDL. Common Development and Distribution License. Lots to read. Interesting. I wonder if I can even run this code. We'll have to read the license. It looks very, very filled out. There's definitely a lot that has been done. There's 21,000 commits. Oh my Christ. Lots of people are working on this. It's very cool. I'll have to check this out. How does it have 0 stars and 21,000 commits? This has to be like a clone of a GitHub repo, right? Hehehe. That's really cool though. It makes sense since a lot of OSs kind of skip over the bootloader part, and I have very in-depth instructions on the bootloader and stuff, considering I've wrote my own. So we compare all the children after comparing the type, and then we compare the value of the node, which you could argue we should do before comparing the children. But then we can't do our little break and return 0 trick, so we'll keep it like this for now. So most of the time, default is going to be return 1. But if it's handled, then it may break and return 0. I think this is horrible control flow, might be very confusing, but it doesn't matter. So to compare two programs, just compare their children. To compare two ifs, just compare their children. Dereference, children. Address of, children. Because this already knows that the type matches, the type of the two nodes. See, a variable declaration, just children. So we don't have to do anything. Variable reassignment, same thing, children. Function call, children. Function, yep, that would be a return 1 because it's default, children. Well, binary operator, to do compare operator symbol or whatever. We'll put in a to-do message, that's what we do. Symbols and variable accesses can do this. So we need a case node type binary operator, and it's got to be with these as well. Oh Christ. LanderXT said, yep. Oh, it's probably on GitHub. Yee, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. 1.2 thousand stars. That's crazy. That's still less popular than I thought with 20,000 commits. There's a lot of work done. What is exception lists? I do not know. That's cool though. Very cool. Oh, LanderXT, what do you get me into? First time chat from a new viewer, Nick1666 says, what would happen if C allowed dot instead of arrow but kept support for arrow? Well, it's funny you ask that. If you head on over to my GitHub, it's down below. There's this little repo. Also, you're going to see private repos. Don't look at them. Called GCC AutoDeref. And that's literally exactly what you were... That's literally exactly... I've done this. I changed GCC. I made a patch for 11.3 and 9.4. If you need like 10.3, I could probably do it. But I just make this little change, and it allows for just using the dot as a dereference. LanderXT says, we need your Emacs config repo. It's so messy, I'm working on it. It's not done. Nick1666 says, yo, no way. Yes way, absolutely way. And there's great instructions on how to build everything. I've done a lot of cross-compiling and building compilers, so completely easy. I was inspired by Soding to actually do this, because Soding did his tic-tac-toe auto-deref, but he did TCC, which is the tiny C compiler. And the tiny C compiler just isn't that useful. And GCC is much more useful. And I already hack on GCC for my my OS, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I should do 12.1. Is 12.1 out now of GCC? I think 12.1 came out a few months ago. I still got to do it. But yeah, there's definitely, it's there. You can go use it. No problem. It just makes your code base not like in spec with the C standard. Hey, Nick1666, thank you so much for the follow. I very much appreciate it. Oh yeah, but Lander, let me make sure I'm not going to show anything I don't want to. But I want to show you the repo. Just to show you. So this is the repo. There's no readme, which is an immortal sin, right? And then the Emacs in it is kind of, it's literate, but it's not as literate as I would like. If that makes sense. And it doesn't include everything. Like my init is supposed to contain things, but it doesn't. So there's some issues, right? But I do have like my packages and stuff here, like org jump mode and shell and bottom and everything. My themes. I still need to add my dark theme into here. But yeah, I have so much to do. LanderXT says, I can't believe you sent the link before me. I know, I stole it. I stole it. You're right, Lander. I should have let you do it. I'm sorry. This is just type checking, and we've already done that. Node compare binary operator. Well, we're at the to-do. So, I mean, we just have to do this. But the problem is that means we have to add it in up here. And it's a little confusing how to do that. Because we would like to say if A is a symbol. Nah, everything's fine. We don't have to do that because we don't want to compare binary operators with symbols or variable accesses like we want to mix up these two. We just want to compare binary operators with each other, so nothing gets more complicated. This is just how we handle it. Pog. Pog pog. Nick1666 says, what language is the compiler for? Yet another C compiler? Not this time. LanderXT says, a custom language Lens is developing as the compiler progresses. Nice. That's true. You can take a look at some examples on the GitHub or right here. This is our pointers example, which makes like a pointer to an integer and pointers and yeah. Nick1666 says he got the link first. Oh, he did. LanderXT with the Lens Plays Games Fun Compiler Tree main examples link. Just gonna immortalize that into the stream right here. Look at that. Immediately after I mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, you can check out the example. He's just right there. Look at Lander. It's amazing. You're the best, Lander. Thank you. Nick1666 says speedy. That's right. He fast, man. He fast. Lamau. Alrighty. We are doing good. This is our language also. I got distracted. LanderXT says, I was going to send the link before you mentioned it. You literally read my mind. Lamau. So now that we compare nodes, like, entirely. Also, did you notice how much simpler this node compare got now that we did these changes? It's like half the size. It's beautiful. And it supports all of the types in the language, so we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. So now... Hey! That's pretty good. A little bit of iDubbbz coming out. Look at this. It worked. So it's a little confusing now, but effectively in greatest common denominator, what do we got? So now we have if 1, right? And then we say if then return 0. So R10 is our little return value for this if expression. And after doing that, then you can see that we jump here. That's the otherwise, actually. Then we jump here after the if then. Poink, down to label 1. Nick1666 says he must have some sort of custom-built QMK macro pad for these links, lol. LanderXD says, I wish. That's right. That's way too expensive. We on a cheap here. I don't know if you noticed. No, but he's just fast. He quick with it. You know what I mean? Okay, so this works. So now we're going to jump. So we're going to execute this. We're going to get to the top of this function definition and go, hey, this isn't a function call. Jump right past me. So then we're going to go ahead and look for this, and we'll jump down here, which means effectively we do this control flow wise. Then we have a function called GCD Euclid. And yeah, with parameters 88 and 32. Nick1666 says PCBs are super cheap. I got like 10 with black solder mask for 10 euros and it worked. Well, it's true. You can just order PCBs, but then you need components and then you need... it's so much. I've built audio amplifiers in the same way. It's rough. The Assailer says you could write BNF notation for that language and that would be the grammar in a formal way. I could, but it's changing all the time, so it wouldn't be that helpful. Nick1666 says it's like a little numpad and it's hot pluggable. Yeah, we know what a macro pad is. It's just, you need the switches, you need the keycaps, you have to order it, you have to wait for them to get here, which if you're in America, it takes like forever because all the PCBs are made in China and America doesn't like China right now. And it's like, come on, just give me my PCBs, man. And then you have to pay customs fees and it's just a whole thing. LanderXT says cross-platform software devs when someone is using a Linux distro that isn't Ubuntu. That's right. That's right. So now we'll have this function call kind of embedded as a lambda in the main expression. So let's make sure this doesn't break everything. Failed with code 8. Hey, that's correct. So if we go to 80, we should fail with code 16. So let's do a recompile. Indent again just so we can look at it. You can see now we have 80 and 32. If we run this again using GNU assembler and GNU linker, failed with code 16. There you go. So there's the greatest common denominator of 80 and what is it? 32. And here is the greatest common denominator of 88 and 32. LanderXT says, when you are happy about it failing, yes. Basically, in the shell, anything that isn't 0 is an exit, is an error. LanderXT says, are you being paid by FSF to advertise GCC? Lol. No, I just love GCC and what they represent. Like, they love and want to put out into the world free and open source software from the bottom up, from hardware to like user space. And it's so cool. It's just an amazing, it's an amazing mission to take on. You know what I mean? Because it's really important in software that we don't have proprietary people just make knowledge basically go away because they just say, nope, that's my knowledge now. But it's just knowledge. It's just computing, a program. I wish I was being paid by the Free Software Foundation, but I'm not. I would take their lawyers if I have an issue, though, for Lenser OS. Because it's GPL v3, baby. Which isn't the best, but it's not the worst. I think I could have done GPL v2, which would have allowed it, Lenser OS, to be used in some proprietary situations. But I think the full protection from proprietary software in Lenser OS is the way to go. And doing everything free and open source is not an issue with me, so. LanderXT says, and MSVC is the worst C, C++ compiler ever. It's not a C or C++ compiler. It doesn't listen to the C standard. It's just a compiler that accepts code that looks like C code. It's horrible. Microsoft ruins everything. They ruined it, as Americans would say. They ruined it, and it's not going to work no more. Where was I? Was I doing things? Did I do something? What did I change? Maggot, I need your help. I can't remember what I've done. I'm a goldfish. What have I done? Oh Lord, what have I done? I changed that to 13. Is that an issue? We're running debug, so we should catch that. Everything's fine then. So we effectively say generate a function even in global cases. Oh, we need to change get got. This is why we look, folks. Yeah, get got. So we're gonna do rename get got to what? What do we want to rename get got to? We're gonna say function name. You know what? We're not even going to use it. Because we don't need it. We can just use result, because if we never get here, also we can break. If we never get here, then we never set result. It'll still be null. So we can just check this. Check this. Lander says, Microsoft don't listen to any standards. That's true. They just do what they want. It's scary. Nick1666 says, we're going to have a Google C, C++ Carbon compiler soon. Oh no. So I don't know how that's going to be. It's going to be horrible, in case you're wondering. LanderXT says, I am never leaving GCC. Richard Stallman has taken me hostage. Daddy Stallman won't let me go. It's true, though. I'm never leaving GCC. I love GCC. I love the idea behind it. So I'll stick with them. I would even use GNU Guile. I think it's going to be a possibility. I just need the to transfer my data. I need, like, you know, a few $100s worth of hard drives, and then I can do it. But that's not very realistic. So let me make sure that I can clean first. So let's go code.s. So if you don't know, CMake has a wonderful little feature when you're building that allows you to clean first before you build. So we just rebuilt the entire compiler. We did a clean, we build all the objects, and we link again. And that's how fast it is. That's an entire rebuild and compiling an example. I love C. It's so fast. Nick1666 says, yeah, I mean, they have a reputation for maintaining large languages, so I think Carbon will be a thing. Go, C#, etc. I don't think, yeah, I was like, GNU, C#, what? LanderXT says, Guile is designed to help programmers create flexible applications that can be extended by users or other programmers with plugins, modules, or scripts. With ... That sounds pretty awesome. Nick1666 says, my bad, holy, no way. Linking to? We are not doing linking. I mean, we're linking our compiler executable, right? Our compiler gets relinked. But the actual code we're generating, we're just generating assembly. We can go all the way. We can do our little as dance here. Here, I'll show you guys. I know it's small. So we're going to use as, output into code.o from code.s. We're going to use ld, output into code.exe from code.o. Then we're going to run that executable. There you go. Done. Failed with code 8. Dunk. Wonder how much time that is. Do I have time? I don't have time. Oh god, kill. Nick1666 says, I thought that was the entire thing from source to exe. It is now. Every time I press this button and you see it reflash, boink, done. That's entire rebuild of the compiler, compile the greatest common denominator example, print out a bunch of stuff, generate code, execute that code, that assembly to make an object file, and then use that object file to make an exe, and then run that executable. Nick1666 says, so long. Looks like a git checkout command. Ooh, it's true. It's just that time, it's like, that's so much time wasted. Like, this compiler is so slow. We need to do optimizations. Guys, it's too slow. Oof. In all honesty, it is too slow, and we do need to do optimizations. But let's not worry about that. Okay. Lander XD says, I will seriously donate to your PayPal if you switch to Linux or even Herd. I will dual boot into Linux to get you to donate to PayPal. Does that count? I don't want to trick you like I switch, but if I stream from Linux a few times, is that cool? I'll do it. Nick1666 says, no, how will it be blazingly fast in 2023? Well, how are we gonna speed it up? It's true. We're not. We're gonna slow it down. So what have we changed? Let's make sure. Also, Lander, I know you're probably just joking. Don't worry about donating. So we generate functions at the top level. Some sort of error about misshapen variable type. Yeah, I still don't know what that means or why that's there. And then we can't generate global functions anymore because that's a big no-no. But hey, we're doing it correctly now. We're doing it. So that's positive. That's positive. Lander XT says, I'm going to ask Microsoft to make their own implementation of your language. No, that doesn't conform to anything you ever said. That's the opposite. That's so scary. No. Please no. Okay, so this is node compare, which we changed, so we don't need this. We moved the comment, which is a little confusing. So it looks like these 4 hunks is what we need. So we're going to stage those. We're going to need environment get by value for sure. We could do these as mini commits, but I don't think we're going to go like that. So it looks like we're going to need this little hunk here. We're going to need, this is function code gen. This is a random to-do that I don't know what it does. We fixed this little global function generation optimization, which was incorrect and broke things. We have our little test, which I don't think we need to include in our example. It's just for our debugging purposes. Okay, so now we basically should just commit. New Discord member. I missed it? Oh god, I did miss it. Yo, what's going on, Nick? Probably Nick1666. Thanks for joining. It's great to see you. Also, Magic Mario and the Assailer. Thank you so much for the follows. I missed those as well. I get distracted when I actually start coding and I don't do everything else. Lol. Thank you everybody so much. Also, Nick's gonna be on stream. He's gonna be on stream. He's gonna do it. You're gonna do it. You're gonna be on stream. Yeah, it's me. Look at my tag thing, whatever it's called. Ooh, is it? Ooh, I don't even know how to look at that. I could at you. Normally that has the number after it. I don't know. You got no tag thing, buddy. Hype Squad Brilliance. Yes. I like your profile picture. Do not click on my profile picture. You mean this one? No, I won't. \@ Is that really what it is? Well. 1 cent is too little. $1 minimum donation. That's PayPal, that's not me. I put a 0 minimum donation. You're in streamer mode, so it doesn't reveal people's tags. Nice! Streamer mode is Pog. It's like my favorite thing in the world. I really like it. In any case, we gotta write a commit message, folks. LanderXT, you are so knowledgeable, by the way. Thank you. Also, thank you for the update on the Discord. Nick1666 says, no, how will PayPal get their cut? Lol. It's true. I mean, if you pull money out of a bank, you also like have to pay the ATM, so it's not different. There's bank fees exist everywhere, but you're right, it does suck. They can get 0.005 cents. That's right, suck on my 0.005 cents. Fix mistreatment of contexts in global functions generation. It's long, but it's fine. We used to generate functions globally, global functions before the main execution entry point to ensure that it basically to optimize out having to jump past these function definitions. The problem is that functions aren't the only context creating expressions. So if the program had any of these other expressions, everything would completely fail and break down. Happy face. Perfect. They take a lot, though. It's like greater than 1% or something absurd. Do you pay less than 1% to get money out of a bank? In America, that's not how it is. You pay much more than that. Like, it's usually at least $3 to get money out of an ATM. So, take with that what you will. I'd say PayPal is pretty good to me. LenderXT says, I'm cloning LenderOS again. Oh no. Nick1666 says, EU, lol. Yeah, the EU is much better at money than America. Money is much more scammy over here. But it's fine. That's why you have to pay for healthcare like $500,000 just for almost dying. You're like, oh, you almost died and you're recovering now? How about you pay $500,000 you don't have? That's where we're at. LanderXT says, I'm in the former EU. Nice, you're in actual Britain. Is Britain still a part of EU? I don't even know how that works. Like, Ireland, I thought, was in the UK, because I'm, like, ignorant. But then apparently it wasn't, and it, like, separated. And because it's a different thing. But then the whole Brexit thing happened, and it's like, is Ireland part of Britain? What is Britain? Is Britain the UK? Is Britain a part of the UK, like Wales? I know nothing. Nick1666 says, no, they dipped. The entire UK minus Ireland. I see. So Ireland left UK. There's now Ireland and UK. LenderXT, though, says Northern Ireland is in the UK. Ireland is an independent country. The United Kingdom is England, Ireland, and Scotland. So there's 3 countries in the UK. So the UK isn't a country? Independently, it's made up of countries? I'm so uneducated. I'm sorry. I'm ignorant. I just don't know. Only Northern and Wales. Don't forget Wales. You can't forget Wales once you hear them. Once you hear them, you're like, ah, that's Wales, all right. Okay, so we did it. We pushed, we committed. We did good. We actually wrote code today, which I didn't know if we were gonna after the start of this stream. It went well. Also, if you have any ideas for what to go in this area on my YouTube channel, let me know. I have no ideas. Maybe just a big picture of Rick Astley. I don't know. Ooh, Lander XT with the video.
Welcome to
The United Kingdom Explained by CGP Grey. Nice. I'll have to check this out. I'm gonna watch this. Ooh, what happened? Ooh, we got a comment. We're gonna read this comment on stream. Hey, so this guy asked this morning, why are you using typedef before declaring it struct? Which I explained in this comment here. I don't want to write explicitly struct foo every time. I just want to write foo, so I typedef it as foo. And then he says, definitely makes sense. Seemed like you thought that using typedef was necessary for struct declarations. I see. I use the syntax as well, but like this typedef struct Markov model, meaning Markov model is just a pointer. You ended up using pointers to the structs you created in a lot of functions. I think that this would make the process easier. He's got it exactly right. Having to write struct foo as like a pointer declaration all the time sucks. Which he exactly found here. The code on the Markov model add is rough. Instead of using while loop to iterate over a list of buckets or values, you can write something like this. For bucket model, buckets 0, buckets not equal null. Why would you write a for loop instead of a while loop? It's literally not different. I love YouTube comments. Overall, great video. I'm sure your channel will grow rapidly. Ooh, thank you, Costas Lemis. I greatly appreciate it. I'm not sure why you advocate for a for loop over a while loop. It's the same. You're just doing a check while bucket equals bucket next, right? No different. I don't see a use, but if there's a reason, let me know, Costas, if you see this. Lender XT says, ignore that. I only subscribed like 10 minutes ago. Lol. Okay. A big explanation of monads in Times New Roman on a white background. Lol. Monads are like a world, and in them they have a state. So funny. All right. Well, we need to begin working on the function argument problem, and then we're probably going to finish streaming. So let's go over what the function argument problem is, and also fix this. We still have to, we still have to fix this. I forgot we never went through and did this. So there's definitely big issues happening in our little code gen, but it's not a big deal because we have a very lenient code gen right now, and we're not trying to do anything complicated. So we still have to fix that. Still have so much to do. Remove global function optimization in CodeGen. Hey, we did that. It breaks everything. Move it down, please. Perfect. What else do we got? Fix lambda parsing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So basically, here's the trouble. Let's see if I can't get a Wikipedia article. So if you just look up funarg, there's literally an entire problem, a named problem, which is the difficulty in implementing first-class functions. So the fact that we're struggling so much with it, and I don't feel too bad, right? Because first-class functions, there's literally a named problem in computer science, dealing with them. And with a named problem with a named problem comes solutions. So hopefully we can see some solutions to the problem we're having and try and use them instead of having to do this all ourselves, right? So if we take a look at the upwards funarg problem, this is the problem where you want to return a function as a variable. So like if you have a function, so this would look like what? In our little code, imagine that instead of returning, also we can get rid of our little test. Instead of returning an integer, imagine we want to return a function. We have the fun like make adder, right? And I don't know if this would work, but we'd have to do like define adder with a, which is an integer, b, which is an integer, right? Or nothing. It just does nothing, and it just returns a plus b, and then returns adder. Do you see the issue with this? The upwards funarg problem. Why can't we return this function? Does anybody know? Why couldn't we say myAdder is like, also we should do like some function, right? This isn't valid code, but pretend it is. Nick1666 says, I don't know. So why can't we do this? And the issue has to do with stack frames. So if we tried to get some function returned from another function, we can't then call it, because where are these values? These values are not accessible from here. We are in the global scope, right? So in the global scope, there's no a plus b. There is no a and b. We don't have a defined, right? So let's say we had a as an integer. Then this a may refer to this one if we did like runtime symbol resolution, right? But when you run it in here, it would use this a. So this would just be confusing. This would be incredibly confusing, and it's called dynamic scoping. And it's how Lisp solves the issue, but it's complicated for the programmer, because a resolves to 0 here, but it resolves to 2 here. So the function that you return, if you call it, like if you called it in here, it'd return 4. A plus b, 2 and 2, 4. But if you then called it here, even though it's the same function you're returning, it would then return 0. And it would actually error, because b doesn't exist, right? So you need whatever b is as well. So we don't really want to do dynamic scoping, because that requires like some runtime interpreter-like stuff, or at least a really strict compiler when it comes to having things in scope, which we do want, but it requires it to consistently keep track of all the variables that are used in a function body, and then you have to test every time that function is used if all those variables are defined. Type checking becomes a mess, is what I'm trying to say. So that's like out of the window, not really possible, right? And the other reason is that this a and b are effectively within this function. So when we call makeAdder here, we create a stack frame with 2 and 2 on it, with 2 arguments, right? Which we can see in code.s. I'm going to drink some water. Nexovec says, hello, Lenzerman. How's it going, Nexovec? It's great to see you. We were having so much fun in the Discord this morning. Ooh, water. Water. Yeah. So for example, what we're literally talking about here is the GCD Euclid function. Here's the call to it. And before that, we push these integers, 88 and 32. So the stack, right, we push onto the stack, and the stack grows with the arguments to the function. So a plus b refers to these stack addresses. But you'll notice, right after the function call, we add to the stack, which means that we eat these 2 integers. These are both 8 bytes, push Q, push quad word, right? And these 8 bytes that are pushed onto the stack twice, which means 16 bytes, we just add them right back. So if we were then to try and call the function that we generated, whoops, I did go to the right spot. If we then tried to call adder, it would be referring to a stack address that doesn't exist anymore. Hey, look, we have an error in our regex. Ain't that fun? Nexovex says, it's good. Yes, good fun. Pirate software, lol. Nexovex says, I had no friends that were interested in languages, so this is pleasant development. Nice. I just have no friends. So, effectively, Nexovex says same. LandarXT says, I have gone back into the dark side. Windows. That's spooky. That's very spooky. First time chat from a new viewer. Daniel B says, too real, too real. Nexovex says, why is it called quad word if it's 8 bytes? Because a word is 2 bytes. So if you don't know, right, we have like a 64-bit architecture. I'm sure you know that. And with that 64 bits comes 64 things, right? So this, imagine each one of these is a 0 or a 1. So there are something called a, also I'm gonna do a little bit of this. We're gonna have a byte, right? Yes, I know, x86 64. So a byte would be, I'm sure you all know, 8 things, right? How can I do a literal number? Does anyone know? In any case, it's just 8 bits, right? LanderXT says things. I know, I say things too much. Bits, 8 bits. There's also a bit, which is what we should define first, right? A bit is one thing. Then up from that, we get nibble. In case you didn't know, nibble is a word, and it is absolutely used. Then we have word, and word, word up. Why? There we go. And then we have something called a double word, or a D word, and that would be lots of these. Like that. And then we have the obvious quad word, which is the full thing again, right? Hopefully that makes any amount of sense. Daniel B says 8 thingies. Nexovec, the PC doesn't think in terms of bits. Byte is the basic building block for most programmers. It depends. You can definitely do bit manipulation on the CPU, though. LanderXT says, I am now developing in Lua. Oh no, we've lost him. Negvorsa says Z-word. Ooh, what would that even stand for? Because next we would have O-word and octa-word, which would be 128 bits. Nexovex says, same, what are you working on? In response to Lander working on Lua. Nick1666 says 0 word. Lamau. But yeah, that's all the different, like, bits, nibbles, bytes, words. Words. Nexovex says hexaword. Literally nothing, says Nick1666. Lol. Just 0 word, 0 bytes, nothing. You can just brick your CPU. Load null into the instruction register. Lol. But yeah, Nexovec is mostly right. Nexovec says 0 day, lol. That the computer thinks in terms of bytes nowadays. That's the lowest level. In any case, this is the upwards funarg problem, and it's not doable. And it's a problem because these variables are not in scope when calling this function. So you either have to keep the parent stack frame in scope while the child is still there, which is a lot of garbage collection and reference counting and stuff, which isn't very fun. Nexovex says 0 in instructions register. Is it going to let you do that? It lets you do whatever you want. It's hardware. You can just load anything into anywhere. Your CPU might restart. Your computer might cycle, but yeah. I'm sure Windows would warn you, like, hey, you're about to do something. You shouldn't. But this problem, it would allow for a very cool language, as you can see, but it also is nearly impossible to solve. So that's kind of out, right? It's at least not going to be supported right away. I'm just going to go through and remove that space. Nexovex says, this is too systemsy for me. Don't you need like a higher ring privileges or something? No. Nick1666 says, it's actually a 26-based number system, so a Z word is just a 26 word. Ooh. You got that 26 base. I wonder if that would ever be useful, other than calculating alphabet things, English alphabet things. Nick1666 says, yay. For practical use. Of course. Lol. But yeah, ring privileges, Nexovec, have to do with memory access. And usually the null page is mapped in every program's virtual memory map. That way you can deal with null accesses. So it's definitely mapped. You're good. As far as ring privileges go. You're telling me I can just freeze a CPU by putting 0 in the instruction register? That's an exploit, isn't it? Well, like I said, Windows is going to warn you. It's going to be like, hey, you don't really want to do this. It's going to be like an untrusted program type of thing. But it's likely that Windows would catch the trap that it generates and just save it gracefully. Because it would only halt your CPU if you actually start trying to execute code at the 0 null page, which you wouldn't do. It's not going to happen because likely the OS puts something at the null page that's like a NOP, right? A NOP loop where it just does no operation forever. So there could also be like this, right? So we'd say like adder. And then we'd have like A, which is an integer, and B, which is an integer, right? And the idea for this would be that we would call adder with A and B, and we could type check using some adder func, like whatever this type annotation is. We'd have to have a variable declaration where the type is a function. So we'd have to have something like, I don't even know, but let's say we did like, returns an integer, and it has A integer, B integer. This is getting confusing. This is a variable declaration with a single type, which is a function. Not sure I like this function type declaration, but it's not too bad. An integer which uses two integers, a function which returns an integer. Nexovex says memory access restrictions don't apply to instruction registers. Are you sure? It applies. It's just that the null page is mapped in almost every OS to deal with when the programmer accidentally dereferences null. I promise. I've done it. I've dereferenced null in my own OS and had many issues occur. And then went, oh, it's a user space program dereferencing null, and then they're trying to execute code from there, and it goes real bad real fast. So the OS does detect it and fix it, but only if they detect it and fix it. You know what I mean? You do just load 0 into the instruction register. It's just what the OS does after that in the exceptions and the traps that it runs into while executing code that isn't code. Or I should say data that isn't code at null, in the null page. because the null page can be anywhere in memory, since it's virtually memory mapped to 0 for the program. And in the kernel, it may even be that where the program is mapped to is just in another page map, which goes somewhere else in physical memory. So you don't actually know. You're not loading null. You know what I mean? You can't load officially like null RAM address into your instruction register, because then like null RAM address is like within the BIOS and within the UEFI shell. You don't really want to mess with that stuff. Because that's where your system bootloader is going to be, in the first 512 bytes. I thought if you dereference 0, the OS shuts you down. It will eventually, but it depends on how you dereference 0. Like in C, you can't do a null dereference because the OS catches C programs that are dereferencing null. The assailer says MMU is configured to deny user access to 0 page, which is why it causes a fault that the OS handles, but the OS doesn't do anything most of the time. If you cause a lot of faults or a lot of traps, then usually the OS shuts your program down. But it tries to gracefully handle everything. I promise. So in this little scenario, where we use an adder function, this is the downwards funarg problem. I don't know why I did this in this file, by the way. Could have just made a new one. And here's the downwards funarg problem. And this, if we take a look, sorry about the bright flash, refers to basically passing a function as a... let's see, does it ever say? It doesn't say what it is, which is pretty funny. Here it is. The downwards funarg problem arises from passing a function as a parameter to another function call. So we would then have defun myAdder or whatever, which would follow the same signature that this type definition calls for. And then also we really need to change our defun. I want to have defun integer. I almost want like that. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Ooh, what if we just had myAdder and then that was an integer? Ooh, yeah, that would match that. Okay, we're going to do that then. So functions are not going to be defun eventually. They're just going to be like other variables. But their signature is going to be a function signature, which means that you can't reassign them. Cool. Cool. Nexovex says, that's weird. Why would the OS only complain about C programs specifically? Well, basically, in Microsoft, you know how C can cause exceptions? OSs are like all custom built to catch the errors that happen all the time, if that makes sense. So if you run C programs all the time, the OS is built to catch C errors, if that makes sense. Because like, and it's not necessarily C programs, it's just that C programs are compiled into executable files that contain certain parameters and sections that tell the OS what to do. Like you can make the stack executable. That's totally doable. You can do whatever you want, I promise. It's just what the executable tells the OS to do, and it'll do it. It'll try to do it, and then it'll handle the failures as gracefully as possible. But yeah, you can just load 0 into a CPU. That's not an issue. You can write assembly that does that, and the program will execute, and your CPU will have 0 in the instruction register. It's just that it'll be handled by the OS if it handles that trap. Nexovex says, so I guess reading the virtual 0 page triggers some sort of interrupt? That's exactly correct. You have it exactly correct. Most of the time, there at the 0 page, there is like a program that either halts forever so the CPU goes into a loop, or that actually is the handler, that is the interrupt. The assailer says exception. Yeah, exception's the proper word, but I wasn't going to get him on it, Nexovex. Because an interrupt is triggered by the pick or APIC or LAPIC or MSI. There's so much. There's so much. So calling useAttr with myAttr, as you can see, this is the downwards funarg problem, and it's actually completely doable. Because all you have to do is implant this scope, the scope of this function, right? That syntax highlighting is bothering me, it's broken. Nexovex says, how do you even know that stuff, lol? RPWH says, gigabrain. I did spend like 4 months, January through, I don't know, March or April, just writing an OS. So that's like all I did every day. So it's just in my working knowledge because I worked with that stuff so much, and I still am. I'm still working on LensorOS user space to get everything up and running. And the virtual memory management, I literally spent weeks and hundreds of pieces of paper just like figuring out how that stuff works because it's so confusing and so backwards to think like when you access 0 RAM address, you're actually accessing whatever the OS wants you to access. It's like, oh, what about when you access OX 40,000? It's like, yep, same thing. It's just whatever the OS wants, which is cool. Nexovex says 3 months, not too bad. It's true. You can see in LensorOS that we have like, it's pretty funny. Here, I need to go to Codeberg. In LensorOS, I don't know if they have it on Codeberg actually. They have activity? They don't. They only have recent activity. Do we get a graph? We don't get a graph. Basically, I worked on it up until 5 months ago, and then I worked on userland, and this took me months. It's horrible. There's like 100 commits in this pull request. There's 84. But yeah, this is all like a scheduler and just working on actual user space programs. And before that, that was when I was dealing with all the issues. I literally spent months on the issue, so I wouldn't feel bad about not knowing it. LanderXT with the amazing link in chat, by the way. Immediate, right away to LensorOS. I love it. Nexovex says, actually, that's some really productive work. Thank you. I don't stop. I just keep going. That's why it works. But anyway, this type of funarg problem is one I would like to support 100%. The upwards funarg problem, for example, Pascal does not allow returning functions as values from other functions, but it does allow for passing them as parameters. And there are other languages that do this, like Algol. So like Pascal, Algol, I think Smalltalk, they all do not allow, I think Smalltalk may allow it, but Pascal does not allow returning functions as values from other functions. So it avoids the upwards funarg problem entirely. LanderXT says, I prefer Codeberg because it has my commit on there. That's right, I have to pull and push it. I'll do that today, LanderXT. I just have to go into LensorOS and actually like do a git pull. Yeah, everything should be fine. I'm all up to date, so all I'll have to do is also, did I really not? Oh, that's a work in progress. Nexovex says, I've never heard of Codeberg. Is that the new big thing? Not at all. It's just something I found that's, it's a Git instance run by a non-profit in Germany. So you can actually look, I think, at their blog. I'm going to get the link first. You can see how they work, but there's actually a non-profit in Germany which own Codeberg, and you can like choose to join the Codeberg like group of people that make decisions. So you join Codeberg EV, and by joining, you like officially join this this thing. It's really cool. It's like a community-owned GitHub, and it's completely free and open source. Paug. Thank you, Landar. Lander XT says, also my stream is very behind, so I can't get the links anymore. It's okay. It's okay, Lander. It's not your fault. Oh yeah, by the way, I was supposed to be showing you this. You can join Codeberg EV and stuff, and check out the nonprofit of Codeberg. But yeah, it's very cool. I use it as a second backup. So I have my GitHub, where I have like Lenser OS and stuff, and all my crazy, like the fun compiler and stuff like that. But on Codeberg, I just have the stuff that I would like to never go away, no matter what. Even if Microsoft ditches GitHub, deletes everything, trashes the GitHub archival program, it doesn't matter. I still have my another remote up somewhere in Germany, run by a nonprofit. Sounds pretty cool. Nexovex says, well, I will probably run my own Git just for the lulz. That's a good idea. The more Git instances we can have up around the world, the better it is. The better it is. Lander XT says you should also use Git Landar. Oh yes. The best Git. If that was actually a thing, I would be impressive. I would be very impressed. It totally exists. Does it really? Gitlandar.org? .com? It's not a thing. But it looks like the DNS address couldn't even be found. You could buy that. You could buy that domain. It's yours. Don't try it. Lol. So, when it comes to the funarg problem, we can see that the upwards funarg problem, passing a function defined in a local scope up to a parent scope, is just mind-bogglingly confusing, because what you have to do is reference count the stack frame and have it heap allocated. That's right. So every time you make a function call, you're making heap allocations if you allow the upwards funarg problem. And then each of those heap allocations, they're garbage counted. They're not garbage counted, reference counted, and garbage collected, which is horrible. Nexovex is not exciting. Replace defun with more fun. Yes, more fun. Honestly, we are gonna have macros eventually where you could do that. This is getting messy. I think something like that is what we would do. See, I don't like that the return type in this syntax gets just buried in with all the parameters. I feel like the return type of a function is more important. So we're going to definitely use this syntax to define new functions. We're going to say if there's an actual body here, make it a function that like can't be renamed or reassigned. We're going to have some interesting strong weak semantics. Nexovex says, so is this thing garbage collected? Sorry about that horrible throat noise. This would have to be garbage collected. So when we look at code.s, you see how we push these variables that we call GCD Euclid, right? But first we have to push our little our function arguments onto the stack, right? And this is called a stack frame, because when we call GCD Euclid, we set the base pointer in it. And doing that, we can then access offset from the base pointer to get our variables, like if a equals b, 16 RBP, 24 RBP. So effectively, we're accessing this place on the stack. But we'd have to heap allocate this. So we'd have to call to malloc, or the OS, or something. We'd have to get memory, push, like not push, but write these values into that memory at the correct offset, and then call GCD Euclid, and somehow have one of the implicit parameters of every function like pushed onto the stack as the pointer to that heap allocated stack frame. And you can tell that this is already horrible, because then our base pointer isn't on the stack. And we would just... It really would be horrible. Everything would be horrible. LanderXT says, I'll probably do that actually. Do I go with .com or .org? I'd go with .org because it sounds official, but do .com if it's cheaper, you know what I mean? Nick1666 says, what's the extension of lens? .lns, .lens? That's not the name of the language. That's my name, by the way. So the extension of me is me. But the extension of this language, this unnamed language... What am I doing? Greatest. There we go. This unnamed language is, there's no extension. It's like a Linux executable. Just files. We can have an extension. I don't know what it'll be. We have to name the language first to know what it is. Negvorsa says, so calling the local function inside its parent is not a problem? Why it's not in the standard C but GNU extension? Oh, yeah, so you're talking about GNU inlining. Or is it GNU local functions or inline? GNU local inlined functions? I don't even know what it is. But in GNU, you can like define a function within a function, and you can use it as long as you call it in the function itself. It's not in the C standard because I don't know. Some guy didn't put it in there yet. That's it. But yeah, it's totally allowed. We could call adder here, and everything would be fine. We have access to all our variables in scope. Nothing's a problem. But it does become a problem if we then do this. Adder impl. This is terrible, right? And then we did something like this. Because then it's like, we don't have access to... It gets very complicated, right? This becomes very complicated very fast. LandarXT says, what do I run? Git-t, some custom install, or something different entirely? You can use any. I think Git-t isn't bad. It's open source, it's free, there's great documentation. You're not going to really have issues, right? Git-t is very, very popular. But there's plenty of open source ones. You could use Gogs itself, right? Nothing wrong with Gogs. Gogs is great. But yeah, there's a lot of them you could run. You can even run Codeberg, actually. I'm pretty sure you can just go... I don't know where it is, actually. But I think documentation, you can check out that they have ways to run your own Codeberg instance, because it's just a fork of Git-t. It's somewhere here. It's somewhere here. But yeah, you can like run your own instance of Codeberg and have like your own Codeberg website all for yourself. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. LanderXT says, I think we should name the language Landarlang. Oh, really? Nexavex says, I don't even know how to get the domain. You just have to buy it from some shady website. Nexavex says, what does that even mean? Lol. LanderXT says, what about Toughlang to convince people they can't code in it? But they can. So this downwards funarg problem is, I think, definitely something to support. Also, I'm going to move all this stuff out of here into funarg problem. Cool. And the idea, I guess, would be that useAdder would then be defined like this. That would probably go over here. I think that means this can happen much better. I don't know. I think that's fine. And then this would be the same thing where we have like myAdder, which returns an integer, which happens to be a function that returns an integer. So then we can give the body. That's a pretty clean syntax, I would say. I think it's better than our defun thing we had. And it allows for a variable declaration of our function. which means that functions will now be variables. Huh. That scares me. Wait, what? LanderXT says stupid lang. Nick1666 says Namecheap is shady-ish, but has decent customer support when their DNS things are on fire. And it also has really good prices. Not sponsored. Lol. LanderXT says the file extension could be .stupid. .spd. Nexovex says brute swipe? I don't know what a brute swipe is. Maybe it's an emote I don't have. Lol. So this is where our language is gonna evolve into. To allow for a downwards funarg solution, right? We're going to need to have variables that are functions. And if we're doing that, then we might as well say that all functions are variables. And the semantics are going to be... So our solution is going to be to define functions as variables. Function is just another type in our type system. Okay. Nexovex says brute swipe or dangle dumper. Oh, it's a name for the language, lol. LanderXT says, I think GitLander is going to become the #1 Git service. Lamau. LanderXT says brute swipe actually sounds good. We'll add it to the to-do then. Name the thing. What was it? TTV at Nexovec. We had brute swipe and or dangle dumper. Lol. Lol. Or Crashlander. Which actually, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I will buy the domain for whatever we pick. Lol. Or that. Did you say that? Is that the name? Lol. It'd be an interestingly named language. Carrot, carrot. Type in our type system. The semantics between reassignable. So basically, a function variable cannot be reassigned if it has a body declared. That sounds valid. A function variable may, I should say may be reassigned to any other function variable. Let's think about this. So if a function is a variable, and we're just going to do type checking, Nexovex says carrot.org. Yes, it's ours. Lol. LanderXT says Crashlander sounds nice, but there's not really domains. Ooh. Also, we don't really need a website for the language. We can just use Codeberg pages or GitHub pages. It's okay. We're cheap. Nexovex says, actually, I love that. Do it. Carrot, carrot. Please don't buy it. We don't even know if we can use it yet. Okay. So if a function is just another type, then a variable... See, the problem is... I feel like it would be confusing. LandarXD says, I'm claiming GitHub organizations for all the names. GitHub's gonna get so mad. It's gonna be like Rust, crates.io, where the namespace just fills up immediately. I'm still 100% team brute swipe. Okay. Negvorsa says, why can't we assign function variable if it has a body? Great question. It's mainly to avoid confusion. So, if you can imagine, if you define myAttr with a body, then we're going to like basically say myAttr is a function that can be assigned to another function, right? And the reason we want that not to happen is so that we don't have confusion, where you can do like myAttr is equal to something else. Because this wouldn't really, I think if you're gonna do this, you shouldn't write it like this. It should be written where this is SumAttr, and then you have myAttr, which is a function without a body. So it's to encourage better practices, you know what I mean? And then you could say this equals SumAttr or another attr. It really doesn't matter, right? But having this, and let's say this one is like B plus A, just to have them different. So it just would have better semantics. In the case that if you could redefine SumAttr, then what would happen to this function body? It would just be gone forever, and it would never be accessible. So we're basically going to have like base level functions that that are allowed, right? Because using it as a parameter, we want to always return a function. Yeah. Lander XT says, I'm the campaign manager. Yeah. He already, oh my god. You already made brute swipe. Lamau, this is amazing. Forked from Fun Compiler. This is awesome. We got it. We got it. Nexavex says brute because it's brute force, and swipe because it does mark and sweep GC. Oh no. That's for Lisp, not for this. But yeah, Negvorsa, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense why we don't want to reassign things. Just to keep the code clean and to not drop our function bodies and have them be never accessible again. Nick1666 says, you should name the language Blaze. Title, brute swipe. Subtitle, totally came up with that myself. Lamau. Nick1666 says, after Blaze, Pascal, since it's Pascally. And also you can say it's blazingly fast. Lol. Nexavec made the same joke. Because it will be blazingly fast. LanderXT says, click on the org I invited you. Which org? I don't know what an org is. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm dumb. Nick1666 says he didn't see. Sag feels badman. He saw. Lamau, brute swipe GitHub organization. He linked it. You just linked to the. That's just the same link as before. I'm not sure. There's nothing that pops up on that page, like an invite. I'll figure it out. I'll be on Git later. So this is to avoid losing the function body. Hey, look. That's a delimiter when it shouldn't be. Crazy. Syntax highlighting woes. Why? Why is it just not syntax highlighted? This is weird, right? Okay. Not sure what was going on there, Emacs, but that was confusing. Nexavex says you can name it Zing because it will be blazingly fast. Ho ho ho. Nick1666 says trolled. Lol. Oh. the quotes still don't highlight correctly. I don't know why. So basically, when we create myAttr, we could assign it to any other variable. So this should all be allowed. We have to do why is this not working now? Did the quotes really screw that much stuff up? I don't know why our syntax highlighting is being so odd. We gotta fix it. It's fine. Catch error of undefined function call. Hopefully. Negvorsa says, so what about weak function in this case? That's exactly what we were just going over. That's pretty funny. So a weak function, like myOtherAttr, which has no body, we would basically say, oh, okay, we can reassign to that, but if it hasn't been assigned to, then that's uninitialized, so we can't use an uninitialized call. If that makes sense. It's going to be difficult with the bubbling up. So we should say something like this. Like we should aim for this. Right? We'll do that. And then this would be like excuse me? There we go. Yeah, something like that. This I know this is confusing code, but hopefully it serves as a basis for us to actually be able to do things. The name Blaze is taken. Brute swipe is unique. Oh, I opened that twice. The name Brute swipe is unique, and we don't have to add lang at the end to get stuff. Lol. Nexavex says, I will name my language Gotta Go. Gotta go fast. Lamau. Nick1666 says, Nunes Nudu. I'm not sure what that means. I like it though. Alrighty. We want to protect against undefined function calls. We want to be able to create a function, redefine it, and call it. Here as well, and here as well. And we'll say to do catch error of undefined function call, even through reassignment, which we can definitely do. It's just will require some checking. And then we should be able to call a useAttr on myAttr with 2 and 2. Since it's equal to SumAttr, we should call A plus B, and everything should be hunky-dory. Nexavex says, say hello to your cat. Lol, cat on the keyboard. Nick1666 says, name it Worth after the guy who made Pascal. Ooh, good idea. It's not bad. We're gonna add it to your list and have Worth after guy who made Pascal. It would be cool if you could name a language as something that breaks the browser when you Google for it. Not worth it, Lamau. Also, that was not Nexavec. I don't know why I'm insane. Nick1666 said Worth. Sorry, Nick. Didn't mean to miscredit you. I fixed it. Too many N's. LanderXD says brute swipe supremacy. Yes. Also, Worth is taken, just like Blaze. Eh. It's not super important. So I can't call my adder unless I pass things to it. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Nick16 says, you don't have to say the 1666. Nick was taken, and that's my Discord number. Hi, Edie. I'll call you Nick from now on. If I remember. Neg Vorsis says, adding keyword make the parsing easy and also improve readability. Yeah. You could argue that. You could definitely argue that. How about this? How about this? Yeah. Okay. So, as for syntax and readability, yes, we do need functions to be able to be variables. But it would be nice to have a custom, shorter, not shorter, but more readable syntax that is, I don't know, more keyword based and requires strong function. We'll just say that requires strong function. Basically, have the fun still, basically have the fun still operate as it did before, or as it does now, I guess is what I should say. Basically have the fun still operate as it did before. Nick says fun as a type. Lamau. Basically have the fun still operate as it did before and require function body. This means there is dedicated syntax. I think that's fine. So we'd still allow for things like defun use adder. Oh Christ, what is wrong with the goddamn syntax highlighting? It's weird. Is it fixed now? Was I just dumb? I'm sure, I was trying to put things in quotes and it was acting weird. Hey, it's fixed now. I don't know what I changed. I just reloaded the unmode. Oh well. Okay, so... Oh, Lander XT, I missed it. He says, I'm going now. I better see you as part of the GitHub org for Brute Swipe by tomorrow. Lamau, Lander XT, I will. Or I will fork the language and ban you from coding in it. That'd be awesome. Nick says, you don't have to, it's just extra effort. Fun as a type? Like function? Lander says, imagine me wanting to go but waiting for you to read my message. I'm sorry, Lander. I'm sorry, I get distracted. I love you, Lander. You're an amazing person. Thanks for watching. Hostage situation. Lol. Thank you so much, Lander. Have a ton of fun. And I thank you for tuning in. You were a great distraction this stream, and I really appreciate you. 100%. Nick says, at Lenzer! Mad, let him go. He needs sleep, not answers. Hostage situation. You guys can go anytime. The VOD will contain my response, I promise. But yeah, maybe we have defun, which can come before a variable declaration and ensure that it is a function and that it uses the proper, has a body and everything. So we could have defun still work, how it did. Nick says, you should make a straw poll for language names. We'd have to actually have, like, choices. I'm not ready for that yet. There doesn't need to be a language name until we're done with it, really. Nick says, we do. We have, like, 8. Well, yeah, we have choices, but I don't know if they're, like, final choices. You're right, though. We do have choices. I was incorrect. I don't know. I just feel like it's not the time. It doesn't need a name. There's no rush. I think when it comes out, it'll be fun to have like a grand opening and a naming too. So I don't plan to do this right away, which is why I put the to do. My plan is to like... Negvorsa says, put defun after the reassignment to be consistent. Nexavec says, oh my god, right this moment, my game has 6,666 lines of code. Evil indeed. Lol. Nick says, LUL, lenses unnamed language. That's what we can call it for now. Just lol. So Negvorsa recommends a syntax like what? Defun integer. And even not quite that. He did the reassignment. How do we feel about that, chat? Lol lang. The emote is perfect. Nexavec. Lol lang. Yes. So good. Nick says, no. In my opinion, that is a dubious syntax. That's what I was kind of thinking in my head. Like, how is this a reassignment? And even if it's just a type annotation, this is still like, I don't know. I don't think I like it. I think I liked defun before. Nexavec says, lullaby. Lol. Honolulu. Honolulu is that's... I don't think I've ever seen that one. Honolulu with the lol in it. That's good. Lullaby I've seen before, but Honolulu. That's legendary status. Twitch emote usage. Oh Christ. So I think we would have something like this. I think this is not too insane. Just having defun before the name, and then it's a type annotation and everything's the same. So basically, if defun is a prefix to a variable declaration that is a function with a body, and otherwise we just say, look for a body, there might be one there, and otherwise we just say, there's no body, it's a weak function. Nick says, yee, I like that. Nick1666 says, use adder and then type annotated with integer fun. Yeah, we don't allow type defs yet, but we will. I know what you're saying. So this whole syntax here, a function that returns an integer, we're eventually going to have something like type def, where you can do like type def, whatever this crazy shit is, into like integer function, which I think is what you're referring to. And then you could just do this. That's definitely going to be doable eventually, but it's going to take some time, right? Type defs aren't simple. Cellulitis. Nexovec. Ooh, with the cellulitis is really funny. I wish why you would not do that. Cellulitis. It's like diabetes. Cellulitis. Lol. But yeah, I think this is pretty good as a syntax. I think this is a good place to start. Next time we come at it, we can deal with our if contexts, and then we can start working on parsing of functions properly in this new way to allow for even more epic work to be done in our compiler. And you know what this will allow for that I think will be doable? We'll then have like an external, right? We'll have an extern, and then we could have like malloc, for example, which returns an integer pointer. I mean, it's not going to be useful, but we could do it, right? And it's going to take in like I mean a size, right? An integer. So eventually we want to work on external calls. We're just going to put this under eventually. In a long time from now. Methyl cellulose. Nick, that's a great one. Nitrocellulose would be better though. Nobody needs that methyl cellulose, the MEK. No, that's methyl alpha ketone. That's much worse stuff. But eventually, we want to allow for defining a new type, which is a function, an external function. So then we can use malloc, and it will be type checked with this function signature. But we don't actually have any implementation for this, and we never will. We'll rely on the linker to add that in. Right? Seems pretty good. And then eventually we'll need an @byte pointer, which will return just a memory address. And that'll be good for us. We're getting there. Gonna have eventually. And this would be @byte. This would be an integer. Everything looks good. I'm not sure why the hash isn't working. It should be a comment. Whatever. Name your language C++ ++. Extracellularly. Yep, this is C++ +++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++ plus minus. And then you'll add plus plus or minus minus with every patch. Oh god. We'll eventually end up with just like... It'd be so good. You know, the language that we that we write. That's as good as unnamed. Every major patch, just add hash. Lol. Perfect. Okie dokie. And then we'll have like memory, which is a byte pointer, which equals malloc. And then the idea would be that we have to somehow have a way to operate arithmetically on pointers, which is also going to be hell. So that's fun. Or for every 4 minus minus, add an equals. C equals equals. I like it. Hey, I closed Emacs. There we go. So eventually we want to support this syntax, where we can have external functions defined and do their thing. And eventually, we want to support this syntax and also support or have sized arrays of bytes be a thing. Either way, it's going to be rough, right? Yep, either way, it's going to be rough. Name it Yolanda. Nick says, add borrow checking and no GCC. Lol. Alright, I think this is a good place to stop. So, we'd still need to implement some bit shifting and stuff, but we don't really need to do that till we want to implement external calls, so we can do rule 110 against this, against this. And basically, we would like to say fix if context handling during code gen. This is what we have to do next. I'd say this is kind of urgent and should go here. Sure. And after that, we can do all this stuff. It doesn't really matter. I think that's pretty good. That is pretty good. Nick1666 says, well done on the progress. Thank you so much. Nick says, good night, Lens, so underrated. Thank you, Nick. I really appreciate that. Nexovex says, do borrow checking, but allow all the multi-threading problems, and then you can name it Crab's Nightmare. Oh god. Where do you come up with these hellish ideas? What is your brain like? Thank you, Nick, so much for the well wishes. I very much appreciate it. We are no longer saying welcome, we are saying goodbye. It is the end of the stream. I thank everybody so much for watching. Nexovex says, I just think of them on the spot. That's horrifying. RPWH says, thanks for the stream. Thank you, RPWH. It was great having you. You were an amazing lurker. RPWH says, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Today's Friday? That's Pog. Nexovex says, goodbye, you'll be missed. Aw, I'll miss you too, Nexovex. I'll miss all of you. But yeah, this is my time. I'm going to do my little ad read. I'm going to point you down below. Down below, there is the Discord, which you can join, and we will, everybody will wave. Lander is here again. Hi there. You're back. How's it going? I had to join here mobile to encourage everyone that Brute Swipe is the only true name of Fun Compiler. Ooh, Lander is killing it. So good. But yeah, we have a ton of fun. We all have great discussions. We laugh a lot. We're all friends here, and I really recommend it. You can get help on your code, or just look at other people's code and see what they're doing, because it's all interesting. But yeah, I recommend it. This is just me on phone. Hello to you still. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. I really recommend joining the Discord. If you don't do that, be sure to check out the YouTube down below where there is all my previous broadcasts that I've ever done. They are archived on my YouTube channel, so catch up on the entire development of the compiler that you watched me code on today. Everything from our hello world to now. In any case, there is also the GitHub and Codeberg links, so you can check out those. And check out my OS, my text editor. Check out my, I don't know, the Fun Compiler itself. How about that, right? Yee, look at this. It's fun. But yeah, I really recommend it. Be sure to check everything out, star it, fork it, do what you want. I'm accepting PRs. We've already merged one from Arnow 478. It's beautiful, and I recommend it. There is one more thing in the About section, the PayPal donate button. If you would be so kind and so generous, any and all donations are greatly appreciated. If you leave a message that is appropriate, I will read it out on stream. And if you leave your name, I'll attribute it to you, say how much you did, do the whole Twitch thing, but with no automated voices. Isn't that nice? So I would greatly appreciate that. I have no other sources of income, so even if it's $1, it really matters a lot. And yeah, I just want to thank you. If you don't want to donate, can't donate, don't worry about it. All I care about is that you watch, you're here, and you're positive. If you're not negative, we accept you around here. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Be sure to join the Discord. Good night, VOD watchers. Nick, he made it. You made it. Anyways, thank you so much. Good night, VOD watchers, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.